What is up, everybody? Welcome. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to another episode of the Black Line Brief. We also got John Bray, Zach Costello, and Blake Bednarz here with us. How you guys doing?
Good. Pleasure having
Good, John. Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us, Matt.
100%. So tonight, you guys, we're going to open up first with John Bray, and then we'll move to Blake, and then we'll kind of go back and forth with questions and prodding of the different theories. And I don't have the comments on the screen because we got a 4x4 here, and it would cover up half of John's face. So, all righty. All right, you ready to go, John?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
So, basically everyone's seen the multiple audio, video files that are available, that were made available the day of. What brought my attention to this whole ordeal was the inconsistency of what we saw and what we heard compared to what we were being told. And I think the pillars of the event, the pillars of where the narrative falls, is the necklace. Clearly it's very difficult to explain the necklace snapping and moving up and around his head with a rifle impact to the neck. The shirt movement, which again is very difficult to explain why his shirt would move in such a dramatic fashion on his chest, on his back, on the opposite side of his body when he was struck in his neck. The cavitation would be localized. You wouldn't see it, across the whole torso and on the back of his body. And then kind of his physical reaction to the event, again, doesn't match the official narrative of, the kind of immediate, indications of brain trauma. They don't line up with an impact to the neck, especially from the angle they was coming at. It should have passed through and through. We should have seen jugular artery blood. It should have looked completely different than what it looked. So you're left with, you have to come to your own conclusions of what could have caused that. And that's kind of what led me down the road of coming to the conclusion that it had to be an energetic event under his shirt to be able to explain all the things that we saw. The order operations, the very first movement that we see from any of the angles is the bulge on the back of his shirt, on the opposite side of his body from where we see the rifle impact. And then we also see a puff of what appears to be like gray smoke coming out from the front of his collar. And these are frames of a 60 frame per second camera and a 30 frame per second camera, the exact same model cameras that were on the same side of the event, pointed at the same target. And in between the shutter speeds of these two cameras, we were seeing drastically different, frames that were captured. So you're left with the conclusion that the event had to happen underneath his shirt. It had to happen at such a speed that it was in between the shutter speeds of the camera. And it was on the opposite side of where we see the rifle impact. So now we're left at an impasse because none of that can be explained by cavitation on the left side impact of the neck. The speed is beyond what you would see from, flesh cavitation of a rifle impact. And that's just the visual aspect of what we're seeing. When you add the audio aspect to it, you're left with even more questions. The narrative even falls further because we have clear audio, signatures of 3 different events from 2 different locations. So we the very first arrival is a mop cone from a projectile that sweeps over the crowd. We know it sweeps over the crowd because we have cameras positioned all over the whole event, from back on 80 meters from Charlie all the way up from 6 meters from Charlie. And we can basically, when we tie these frames of these cameras together for the first movement of his shirt, is kind of like the sync point, right? All the cameras were pointed at Charlie. So we can sync the time with all these cameras with the first movements of his shirt. So when you sync all those cameras together and you look at that time of arrival of that mop cone, you can trace it back to its source. You can't say exactly where the source is, but you can say that mop cone passed this camera first, and then it passed this camera, and then this camera, and then this camera. And that gives you an indication that the shot had to be fired from 120 to 127 meters away from an elevated position, and it swept over the crowd and went past the tent. It didn't end at the tent. We know it didn't end at the tent because the cameras that were directly in front of the tent didn't register the loudest peaks of the Mach cone. The Mach cone is, that sound wave is being created off the tip of the bullet. So the cameras that are closest to the bullet as it passes they're going to receive the most frequency from it. So they should have the highest peaks. And the cameras that have the highest peaks are the cameras that are on Charlie's right side, that are closest to that black van. And so, the only conclusion you can make from that is that the bullet passed closest to those cameras because they clearly have the highest peaks of them all. And then, the cameras are limited in that it's a compressed audio and they're going to clip at high decimals. But now we have a professional quality audio with 4 different channels from a source that was, far away from Charlie. And that gives us even more definition of the audio signatures that we see. And it made it even clearer that we were seeing the Mach cone pass by, and then we were seeing a detonation frequency that was originating from underneath the tent. And then the muzzle blast arrives. So we have a 3-frequency event with 2 origins. And there's no way you can explain that detonation peak, which was the highest peak in the UVU camera. The highest peak was from the detonation camera, the detonation under the tent, stronger than the muzzle blast, stronger than the Mach cone. And it's because that shotgun camera was pointed directly at the tent. It's a directional camera. So, it's made to kind of like muddy out all the sounds around it and really focus in on the sounds that are in front of it that it's pointed at. And so when that detonation went off, it did exactly what it was designed to do. And it picked up the frequency from that area stronger than all the other frequencies. And if you look, it clips almost the entire, sequence of the shirt movement and all, even on to Charlie falling over. It's clipping the whole time, where that sound signature was so strong that it was basically distorting the microphone. But we have 3 other channels that are on that microphone that are on the built-on cameras, that are the actual microphones that are on the actual body of the camera. And they capture a completely different event because they're not directional like the shotgun mic. They capture the Mach cone passing by. They capture the muzzle blast, and the detonation wave comes at them, but it's much less strong of a signal as it is from the shotgun mic. And because it's the furthest recording we have of the event, it has the biggest distance between the detonation sound originates at the tent, and it takes it a certain amount of time to get to the camera, where the other cameras are very close to Charlie. So the Mach cone and the detonation, they kind of muddy together because the Mach cone passes by and the detonation happens, some milliseconds afterwards. And so it's very hard to really clearly detect the frequency of the detonation. You can see it, but it's hard to find separation where you can really count the distance between when the detonation goes off and before the Mach cone went by. And so that separation of the distance really gives us the clarity that we need to say for sure. Not only do we have uncompressed audio with a shotgun mic and several other channels of audio from the same device, but we have that distance that gives us that arrival speed, which makes it, there's no arguing that there was a strong detonation acoustic signature that originated from the tent that happened after the Mach cone passes by. So, there again, when you add this to the visual, evidence that we saw, you can't explain any of this with the official narrative of a 30-06 impact to the neck of Charlie Kirk, causing the necklace to snap off, his shirt to fly around, and then the frequency of a detonation to arrive, 100 milliseconds later at a camera that's 40 plus yards or 40 plus meters away. It's just not possible. So at that point, you have to almost abandon the official narrative and abandon anything else you may have been told about the event and just look at the tangible, energetic activities that we saw. Because, a necklace is difficult to snap. It takes a lot of energy to throw it up within a frame a second of resting on the chest, up and over the head and around the body. Shirts just don't deform around like we saw, especially, in between frames of 60 frames per second cameras, the speeds that are very difficult to explain, even with, Hollywood trickery and squibs, like it's faster than any of that. And now we have a frequency that's consistent with the detonation of a high energy explosive that originates from the tent. So you put all these factors together, you're left with the only conclusion that you can come up with is that there had to be a high energy detonation of a device underneath Charlie's shirt in the area of the tent. It's the only thing that can explain all the tangible evidence that we have from multiple cameras. It's not like it's a single source. We have 6 different cameras that captured it. We have the audio from multiple cameras that are clear enough for you to analyze, and we have 3 cameras with perfect metadata that to me you could present them in court. The people that held them, where they were. The metadata shows you the second of the event synced up, and their exact positions. So it's not like it's just some rando internet or video that's been spread about. Like, these are tangible forensic evidence that should be at the very front of the defense of Tyler Robinson, because every single detail in these 3 cameras goes against the official narrative. His whole court case is now falling apart off of any one of these angles. But when you add them all together, you're left with nothing but with doubt. There's no way that you can say that there's not reasonable doubt that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk in the neck. Like, there's more than enough information to at least open up other options and explore other narratives than what we're being told. And, I just don't feel like, I've shared all this information with Tyler's defense, and I just don't feel like while, they do seem to be working to, the best they can, it seems like there's a lot of evidence that they're just not picking up the ball and running with. And to me, if it was my case, it would be the very first thing that I mentioned. Like, these things would be going on record. I'd be asking, everyone to view them in the court. I'd be asking for forensic experts to review them. And we just really haven't seen any of that.
And that'd be a great question for Baron, what, is there an argument legally that it wouldn't be admissible, or would the prosecution, weigh in to exclude that? Or
what I don't like is that the defense seems to already be admitting that it's a bullet. Like, they're already acknowledging from the autopsy report, which I know has been called into question here, the bullet fragment. And this is something, John, I think you posted this. I saw it. They're just looking at a piece of metal at this point. Like, what we're talking about is a projectile. So I think ultimately it's a mistake by the defense to even be referring to this piece of metal that they found in the autopsy as a bullet. John, I got a couple questions for you. Okay. One argument that I heard early on that I thought was pretty solid was from Dr. Chris Martinson when he brought up the cavitation effect of a high-powered rifle. And if you look and you watch, I haven't watched probably as high of a quality. You're way down in the weeds of the details on this, which I very much appreciate. But to me, what he was able to at least exemplify was the cavitation effect that happened to Charlie's body and the expansion and kind of the blowout of his back. And that is, he uses examples of high-powered rifles that show that cavitation effect. It sounds like, and I tend to agree with you in that even if you can recreate that cavitation effect with what happened to Charlie's body, where he was hit and that round not behaving like a 30-06 round, I think obviously calls it into question. But then what you mentioned about the necklace basically snapping up and forming like a 9-degree angle over his ear and then swinging around his head, there, from what I understand, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong here, I don't think, first of all, even using frangible or varmint rounds with a 30-06, I don't think anybody's been able to recreate the shot in soft neck tissue and have it do what it did to Charlie. And then second, nobody from what I can see has been able to also recreate the effect of that necklace and how that necklace behaved, right? So, and then when it all comes down to it, you have the ATF that comes out and says, like, this is a piece of metal. We can't identify what it is. So to get back to what I said about the defense, I think they're making a mistake in even referring to this as a bullet. But in any case, what I wanted to ask you also too was, where do you think then the shot of the sound of the gunshot came from? Because everybody on the ground there, you even have like UVU that's coming out with the alerts right away, talking about how, the assumption was almost it was a gunshot. So obviously that sound is coming from somewhere. So where was that coming from?
Yeah, you can for sure know that it came from 120 to 127 meters away from Charlie's position. Where we can't know for sure. You can't triangulate directly with cameras because they're basically distorting. From when the Mach cone first arrives at the camera for 5 to 10 milliseconds afterwards, it's just distortion. So you're losing that precision timing that you would need to really triangulate where it came from. But we know from how long it takes the muzzle blast to arrive from that bullet, that Mach cone, the first arrival, we know that's good because that's when the distortion first starts. So that's a solid number. The next very tangible thing you have is the speed of sound. So we know the difference of time it takes between when that Mach cone first arrives at a microphone to when that muzzle blast arrives at the microphone. You can use that time to determine the distance that sound had to travel. You reverse that out and you can get to, your general distance of the rifle shot. And with, 6+ camera angles, they're all consistent. There's not a single angle that has a different figure. It's always within 120 to 127 meters, which I think is like 138 yards. So pretty close to what they claim the shot was taken from. But all we can say for sure is it was an elevated position. We can't really say from where it came from. And another very interesting thing that, I've avoided the subject for a long time until I had so many tangible things that were pointing towards it was the black van that had the hatch raise up right before the event and it had it closed right afterwards. There was a Look Out for Charlie on YouTube. He did a video in October where he picked up a really strange frequency that was kind of like a, not quite a whistle, but along the lines of a whistle. It was 4950 hertz. And the 60 frames per second iPhone 15 Pro camera that was right next to the wall closest to the van picks it up almost 95% in one channel. It's in his left channel, which I couldn't really explain because, for it to only pick it up in one channel, it had to be highly directional. He had to be really close to the source of that sound. And I couldn't really come up with a logical explanation for it. So then I started looking at other cameras to see if how their stereo adjusted as we got further away from it. And, it adjusted exactly. So the next iPhone Pro camera was to his right, and it picks it up almost 60% in the left channel, 40% in the right channel. And then the cameras that were in front of Charlie, they pick it up evenly in the front of both channels. So when you start to do like a rough triangulation of the channel dominance, it really shows you that it came from that position underneath the walkway. And so, it left me like because it happens at the same time as the Mach cone passes by. It's like they're like right next to each other. So I knew it had to be an effect of the bullet somehow. And then I found videos of people shooting 300 blackout, 30 caliber air rifles into ballistic gel. And one of the guys' video is called like my ballistic gel farted or something like that. He was shooting a 30 caliber air rifle into a ballistic gel, and it made this like whistle sound, you know, like boom. And when you've seen ballistic gel get struck, it cavitates, right? It makes an air bubble, and then that air escapes out of the channel that the 30 caliber round made into the ballistic gel. Well, you can do the math on that, and it's like a musical instrument. You can know what frequency it makes, and it makes a mean frequency of 4950 hertz. And so, you know, that really blew my mind, that when I ran the math on that's what it came out to. So I was like, well, let me take these videos, all these independent videos that have been recorded with cell phones too, of 30 caliber rounds impacting ballistic gel, and see if we come up with a similar frequency. And every 30 caliber round video I run with impacting ballistic gel that has good enough audio where the camera was close enough to the ballistic gel, it makes a mean average frequency of 4950 within 5% of 4950 hertz. And so it's like when you start to add these things together, it starts to be really difficult to just ignore. And I was like, well, it's just a frequency. Maybe there's something else to it. Well, there's another kind of unique attribute of ballistic gel, is that when it cavitates and collapses, it creates secondary explosions. And if you watch ballistic gel in slow-mo, you'll see it. It has a certain pattern to it. And that pattern, you can math it out. Like it's a known frequency of the viscosity and elasticity of the ballistic gel, how long it takes for it to collapse and explode and collapse again. And so I wonder if I could find that frequency. And so I looked for that. And then I found that frequency exactly at the same time as the Mach cone passes by. So we have two unique frequencies that are tied to 30 caliber rounds hitting ballistic gel that are triangulated in the area where that black van is. And we have a video of a guy opening the black van door, or the hatch, and then skirting around the side of the van. And he's the very first person to react to the rifle shot. You can look at the entire crowd. Nobody else reacts, but he's the first one to duck and jump. And so it's like when you tie all these things independently, they could be anything. It's just a weird event. But when you tie them all together, it starts to, you know, tell a story that's hard to ignore. When you have all these tangibles caught by multiple cameras and the events line up so well, we know the Mach cone passes in front of the tent and passes closest to those cameras. And then we have this frequency that we have multiple sources showing that it'll create the same frequency when ballistic gel is struck. And we're pretty sure that a bullet didn't strike Charlie, just from, you know, the visual evidence that we have. So again, it kind of shows the further explanation of, sure, we know there was a rifle shot. We have tangible evidence of that, but where'd the bullet go? And, you know, it wasn't something I had an answer for before, but I think that, you know, there's enough evidence to at least look further into the possibility and of that being the cause. And somebody just needs to take 30-06 and shoot ballistic gel with some cameras, some iPhones recording it. Like, they'll be able to pick up the frequency too. Like, it's already been done independently, but people not knowing what they're doing, but somebody, you know, really setting it up with the same amount of distance, put it in the back of a van, like reproduce it. It's something that can be done. One of these shooter guys out there, they should be on this. They should be doing it. Like, it should have been done already.
Hey, John, let me jump in real quick and ask a question. So let's just assume that this rifle shot happened on top of the Losi Center. I mean, you're pretty much you're operating under the assumption, and I'm going to cut out just 1 second. Okay, there we go. That it happened at an elevated position, correct?
Yeah, because the Mach cone doesn't start to get really prominent and loud until it gets closer to the lower parts of the event. Yeah, the people that were closest to it, like the UVU camera, should have picked it up a lot louder than they did. If it was shot at a crowd level, it would have been loudest at the people close to it, and it didn't get loud until later in its trajectory.
So why do you think that when Cub and most of those people that were all right there underneath the speakers, they are super adamant that the shot. I mean, you could call Cub right now or text him and be like, "Hey, where do you think it came from?" He's like, "It came from the speakers." Like, why do you? Because 140 yards away, that's a significant distance to where I don't see how that gets confused.
Well, you have 3 audio events that kind of like.
I'm just talking about like the human ear, like the human ear.
Have you ever been shot at? It's hard to surf. It's hard to know where you got shot from. Like, I've been shot at several times. Like, I lived in a rough area in Nashville, and every time I thought it was fireworks, and then I thought there was like a loud bug that flew by me. Even after being shot at several times, my immediate reaction was, "Why is someone shooting fireworks?" That sounded like a big bug. And immediately when I start to look where the gunshots come from, it's never in the direction where the gunshots actually come from. It's not till I see the muzzle flash that I realize the direction that the shots are coming from. So like, humans just aren't that great at, pinpointing low frequency sounds. Like, high frequency sounds, we can pinpoint really easy.
But you think even from like the low-C roof, the low-C roof, you would agree is at one of the most upper positions on that campus, right? Where sound is going to radiate in a 360 degree with no echoes anywhere, because you're up at the highest point. So be so loud. I mean, we're talking a football field and a half. So 1 football field and a half of a football field nearly. And it sounds like it's so prominently loud right there for everyone. Like, that's hard for me because I have shot rifles a bunch. We're actually going to do a test this weekend out here at one of my buddy's ranches, and to test this exact thing here with different acoustics. Now, we don't have the layout per se but there are some rock canyons that we're going to play with or try to mimic and whatnot. But it's just, that's always been weird to me, is that on top of the low C, you've got sound that's going to escape out on top of the low C. Why does it sound so loud right there? And most importantly, why does no one, especially on the Phil Lyman video, no one is looking back up at the low C roof? No one is. Everyone's pointing out that the sound came from down there.
Well, you have sound originating from multiple locations. You'll have the sound of the mop cone, which is like a crack, and then you have the sound of the detonation of the tent. So depending on people's positions, that it's going to be like, acoustic salad. It's going to be up to their choice of which way they're going to look. You're going to have that, that loud flashbang sound coming from underneath the tent right after that crack of the mop cone passes by you. So, I could see how, if you look at the crowd, people look in all sorts of different directions. It's not like a unified direction.
What about the people that are right there underneath the alleged prone position? No one is looking back up, pointing back up. Like, no one is. Like, is that not weird? And I'm just running with the assumption that the shot that you're saying that pierced the van came from the low C. I mean, there's no one that's looking back up there.
He didn't say the low C. He said it's coming from an elevated position around 120 to 140. You say feet or meters away?
It's 120 to 127 meters. Yeah.
But somewhere in that direction.
Yeah, I can't pinpoint. And there's so many roofs. Like, I really mapped it out. It could be any number of positions that it could have came from.
But it actually kind of has to.
It has to be in an elevated position, just because the cameras that are further away, they don't pick up the mop cone as loud as the cameras that are closer to the tent. So the bullet was obviously closer. The bullet was getting closer to the cameras as it got closer to the tent.
Quite frankly, I mean, couldn't this actually rule out the low C with what you're describing? Just or like, should people have been looking right back up at where this shot came from?
I don't think you can really depend on people's ears, like, forensically, to dictate where a shot came from. There's a very, very unreliable source of spotting where a shot, unless they're like trained and they've experienced a lot, and they know to go against their natural tendencies. But like I said, like your natural tendencies put you in the wrong direction almost every time. It's hard acoustically for your ear,
especially there.
Yeah, because it's a weird environment, and you can see the echoes of it. Like all that's detectable. Like people talk about how it's very difficult to really make much sense of the audio, and it's true, not only because it's from cell phones, but the one thing that is very tangible that you can depend on is the first arrival. You know, the first sound that arrives is going to be from the source. It can't be an echo. Like so if you use those first arrivals and you really hone in on the frequencies, and you band pass any frequencies that could be from, you know, like speakers or echo or some other part of the crowd of people screaming, like the ambient noise. Once you filter those out, you can just look at the peaks of the first arrival, and they'll give you the exact timing of when that sound first passed by whatever source recorded it, be it a camera or the cell phone.
Gotcha.
I got a video. Let's watch this video. I think it's very telling. When you hear all the different sounds, and it's blurred, so it should be. I've had it on YouTube, and I hadn't got smashed yet, so we should be good to roll with it. Yeah. How do I play? Hold on. Bump, bump, bump. Hold on.
You're good. Well, I was going to ask you a question, but you're doing that right now. There's somebody threw a chat in asking about Rick Cutler. They're positive that there's something in between his fingers.
Yeah, look at the two move files. You can see his hands come up. Like he doesn't have anything in his hands. And more importantly, most of the people that do like the Cutler palm gun thing, they never show Charlie, because Charlie's already like mid like impact. Yeah, by the time he even reaches up there. So it just doesn't time right.
Well, and when Rick Cutler pulls on his sleeve, it doesn't actually match up with any of the sounds that they're attributing to a gunshot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm ready with the video if you want to pop it up.
When you throw it onto the queue down below.
Okay.
It was there before. It's not there now. It's just the four of us.
Womp womp. Hold on.
You're good.
Let's
Later
share
on.
We can share my screen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that.
There it is. Yeah.
Boom.
Over the last 10 years, counting or not counting gang violence.
See how drastically different like the audio is of that shotgun mic. Just catchers, it's like a whole different event that we're capturing.
None of it was blurred out.
Was it not?
No.
Bro. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's all right. Matt's a pro at post.
Shut up.
Oh God. Oh, I brought it from my
I felt
shot.
so bad for him, man.
I hope because this all
Matt
gets
Trim
like
did not cut.
No, I suck at it because I usually do. It's all good. Hopefully, so the AI is going to be a couple 15, 20 minutes behind in its catching whether or not we've broken some of the guidelines. So hopefully it doesn't.
I think us four just being on a stream together breaks guidelines. I mean, this is not ideal for them.
Hopefully all of our faces and everything confuses them. Can I ask you a question, John? I know that there's a guy on X and there's other people that have questions regarding the there's a theory out there that possibly, you know, whether they're saying that it originated from like Rick Cutler's palm gun or a different rifle, but that a bullet ricocheted off of the necklace and then that bullet hit Charlie in the neck. And then that's why we see the shirt movement. And that's why we see the you know, the cross jump up.
Well, I think you have to explain why the shirt raises up like that's across his face. and then how you explain that and the shirt raising on the back of his collar. You know, it's like, if you look at the order of events, like it's very difficult for you to explain like the shirt collar with cavitation when like you see like a fist size air gap in between the shirt collar being blown out. There's no flesh cavitating out causing that. It's just a big hump of fabric being pushed out. And then after that, you know, it's 2 frames after that, we see his shirt collar being lifted up, which obviously has like a tangible object that's lifting it. Like you can see the shape of it. And this is while the necklace is traveling around his back. So it's like when you tie that all together, like it's just very difficult for all that to happen. And then a wound to appear behind the shirt as it's lifted up, you know, because that's kind of like what it would have to be. Something magically would have to travel through the shirt, because we see the shirt fall down and then we see just the outline of a wound. And then it's like 3-4 frames later before we ever see it like fully, you know, show blood even start to come out of it. So it's just like, sure, it's a medium velocity impact. It's a lot more plausible than a rifle impact, because a rifle impact, we're going to see immediately blood splatter. We're going to see we're not going to see jugular blood. We're going to see all their arteries bleed. And, you know, we're going to see a huge amount of cavitation, not just like a little flesh kind of deformation that's kind of, you know, it's only in one direction. You really don't see it in all directions like you would expect.
Hey, John, have you run that by any like ER docs? I've had 2 independent ER docs, one cardiologist, another ER trauma level 1 here in my hometown, say combination arterial and venous.
I've had several
is consistent.
ER doctors tell me 100% only jugular blood.
Really?
Yeah, they said that there's no way that anything other than the jugular got ruptured. Otherwise, we would see pulsating blood. Yeah, we would see it like it would be bright red. It would pulsate, and we would see at least 20 seconds of bleeding.
Of like squirting out.
Yeah, not only did they say that, but they said he had to be in cardiac arrest because the jugular was just draining like gravity. So it's like his heart was already like on the outs, if not just not pumping at all. And if you look at his physical reaction, you know, it's pretty classic with immediate brain trauma, midbrain and brain stem trauma. I even have videos of his forearms. You can see his muscles in his forearms immediately. As soon as the necklace starts to move, you see his muscles in his forearms just fully flex. So whatever the event was that happened that broke his necklace caused enough trauma to give him the brain stem, midbrain trauma at the same time. And, you know, we see his elbows flex out, his hands come in, and his knees. Most people don't talk about that, but it's something that struck me. His legs come together almost immediately. And he tries to lift himself up. You know, people are like, he lifted out of the chair from the impact, but it's not. His legs come together and he tries to straighten them. Yeah. And that's why he starts to dump out of the chair, because he's literally trying to straighten his legs. And that posturing, that's what happens. You want to cross your feet and you want to bring your hands in and kind of flex your elbows out. And if you've seen enough like videos of people that get shot like in the neck or in the lower brain, that's what they end up doing. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like the kill shot with an animal when, you know, like dead right there shot. They just kind of lose all motor function and they fall over dead. Yeah. And usually their limbs cross. You know, it's something about it. It causes that you want to cross your body, across your hands, and then his hands grasp up. You can see it. One hand is like, it's almost like that, where he flexes his hands so tight. And that's why he holds on to the mic for so long too. You know, it's that immediate reaction was caused by that. He actually clenched his hands so tight that his hinged ring falls off, where, you know, he ties his hands up so tight like that it pushes that hinge ring off and it falls to the ground. You know,
what do you mean it's a hinge ring? It's
a hinge ring. He has like a tick where he plays with it, where it's diabetics wear it. So if your fingers swell up,
on the inside, it's not all the way looped around.
No, there's a hinge on it. You can see videos of him switching it finger to finger, where he'll
I've seen him play with it, but I've never seen that backside. So that So, because that's one of the biggest arguments people talking about electrocution is that the ring was he was electrocuted and it broke the ring and it flew it off.
Yeah, it's a hinged ring. It was from his hands just drawing up like that.
Yeah.
And you can
Yeah.
watch
Do we
the
know where
ring.
the ring went?
It fell to the ground. You can see it
But
from.
like today, like
No.
has
No,
anybody ever clocked on it?
nobody's ever mentioned it. It's like
No.
it's you didn't see them looking for it, like they're kicking around the grass for it, but it fell underneath the table, and they were never looking in that area. They were looking in the area where they had his body kind of pulled out on the grass. So, you would think that would be as important as the necklace, and they certainly made a big deal of
Almost more important. It's his
Yeah,
wedding ring.
yeah.
At
Was
least
it his
Erica.
wedding? Yeah, I guess it was his wedding ring. It would be.
Well,
on
he
the
was
hand.
wearing it in place of he also used to wear like an aura ring or like a black kind of obsidian looking ring on his wedding finger. And then like his later most recent videos, you see that one, which is like a signet ring, his gold ring, which I don't know if it has like initials or a family crest on it. I could never see the design. But he was wearing it on his wedding finger. And you would think Erica would want that. And it wasn't on his hands in the casket. She doesn't talk about it.
Yeah, and we all
Weird.
saw it, and we all saw it fall, which is like a weird thing. It's not like that most people don't expect a ring to fall off. It at least deserves explanation.
Yeah, that was a good catch. That it's what'd you call it? What kind?
A hinge,
A hinge ring. Yeah. Okay, Blake, you ready?
Well, hey, let me ask real quick, John. Will you go over the explosive compound that you believe?
What
Is
the?
Are you going PETN?
Yeah, the whole reason I settled on that is just because I have a working example of that less than a year ago. PET being hidden into an electronic device. That was immediately what drew me to that conclusion. Just because it's available, it can be made. Like the underwear bomber made it, supposedly made it. We know somebody gave it to him, right? But they tried to claim that they made it. The various terrorist groups have been able to make it. There's a guy that was bombing abortion centers. He was making it in his living room. So it's readily available. It's high energy, and it's powerful enough and hard enough to find that you can conceal it in a device. So to me, it was kind of like a go-to. I don't have any evidence that it's exactly that. I do have the evidence of the rise time, the frequency that's created, and I compared it to the walkie-talkie explosions and then the tests that were done after that. And the frequencies are very similar. The rise time's a little faster, but that's to be expected because it was compressed into a small device, so it would have been a little bit of a hotter charge than what we were seeing on people like testing YouTube reenactments of the pagers, just kind of like putting loose PET in like a plastic case, and they were using like way hotter load, 6 grams. But again, the frequencies are very similar. So to me, what the explosive was is really secondary. The key is to know that it would be powerful enough to fit in the device, and it would match the kind of amount of energy that we saw displaced, and the frequency would be close enough. And it checks all those boxes. But as far as like tangible evidence that it's PETN, I don't have any.
Do you have a theory on like how the device was detonated?
Yeah, from the using the Rogue microphone, the chipset on the Rogue Pro microphone. That what changes between the Rogue Go and the Rogue Pro is that it has an ARM processor capable of millisecond timing, so it can sync video with audio. And so I'm looking into how you can make a custom firmware right now to basically take control of that capability of that chip and use that microphone that's on board to use it as an acoustic detonator. And I've ran the calculations on the delay time that it would take from it receiving the Mach cone frequency in the microphone to send the signal to that ARM processor to be able to send it to a detonator, and the time it takes for that pre-charge to detonate the PETN. And it's within the window that we see the delay from the Mach cone to the detonation frequency. So again, it's like, tying it into, is it possible? Will it fit in a device? Is the device capable of sending the signal? Is the frequency that we have recorded within that time frame? And it all lines up. So.
Okie doke. Ready for me?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just start off by saying whatever John and I on what happened underneath his shirt, we're talking 3 degrees of separation here with something exploded, and whether it's the microphone or the necklace as a shaped charge, there was still something underneath Charlie Kirk's shirt that was deliberately put there. He was unaware of, that was detonated and wounded him. Okay, like there is absolutely no dispute in my mind whatsoever at that. So with where I am today is I'm on the necklace. The pendant having a much more complicated and just newer styled explosive. I think it's a nitrocarbon compound. So there's octanitrocubane and some other hexa. These words are so complicated, I can't even think of it off the top of my head, but it's basically these newly developed, I'm talking within the 90s, okay, of these highly effective, efficient, they call them they're micro-shaped charge, but they're high energy density materials, HEDMs, okay? And I believe one of those compounds at a very small amount was put into the necklace along with a bridge wire, which would have been the collapsing bridge wire. All of this stuff can easily fit inside of a pendant to then be detonated, okay? Everything from the firmware and what John was describing, what was going to be needed in the microphone, you need to look nowhere further than an Aura ring. You just mentioned that a while ago, Matt. The technology's there for a ring. Just go and look at an Aura ring with the Bluetooth capabilities, the battery capability, all of this stuff. So I believe that without Charlie knowing, he had his necklace swapped out the night before or even perhaps days before. This stuff is extremely, you have to be very deliberate in your detonation of it. So there has to be a shockwave that's produced that actually collapses the bridge wire, that initiates that very first trigger of the shaped charge. And essentially what it does is it creates a lethal jet that drills into whatever its target is, okay? Now, where I believe things went sideways is the clasp on the David Yurman necklace. Okay, this is the box chain David Yurman necklace, super heavy duty. Most people, if you've worn a necklace, you know that the clasp tends to work its way down. When I mean down, I'm talking down by where your pendant would be.
Right.
I believe this is what happened, and this is the first breakdown of the day, is because I believe the clasp worked its way down to the pendant, and then once it was detonated, because of what was being detonated right there by the clasp, that is one of the first things that we see fly off of Charlie. And this is in the 2-minute 41-second video that is over to Charlie's left-hand side, about tent high. You can see that object flying away from Charlie. Now, once that happened, I believe things became unstable with the pendant, and this is where the plan went way off rail. Is the pendant then lifted off? It was misdirectionally shot because there's now the pendant's gone, the necklace has now blown. That's like literally one of the very first things that we see is the actual necklace box chain itself. I mean, violently flying behind Charlie. Okay. So this is where, if they were doing test detonations on, let's just say hypothetically here, allegedly at Fort Huachuca a couple of days before, every time they would be doing a detonation, they probably had the clasp in the back position, back here behind the person's neck, and it would be on a mannequin. And each time I would be willing to bet that they did not have a fail of the necklace because the clasp was where it was supposed to be. But in real life, when you're throwing out hats and you're doing things, you're taking pictures, you're walking around, Charlie is, I mean, he's active when he's walking up to a tent to debate people and throw out hats and have a good time. So this is that risk mitigation, or this where they just didn't take it into an account, and they severely miscalculated. So with that, I believe they probably got the favorable results during their tests, but then here now when the clasp moved down to the pendant, that's where things started to go sideways. So the clasp fails, the necklace goes. On Cub's video, on the other video that's over there, look, the necklace it has some major energy to it. You can see the thing. It's incredible to watch because there's so much energy happening with the necklace. I believe that's what's giving us that blowout of the t-shirts. And look, I believe that what we all witnessed was probably an inch or 2 inches from all hell breaking loose and their plan, or possibly someone like Mikey McCoy getting hit, because I believe that charge rode up to the literal collar of that t-shirt, the seam, and before it unloaded the high velocity jet, which the jet's going to be literally liquid metal, and into Charlie's neck. Otherwise, we're talking the margin's incredible, because literally you can see, and it's called the Monroe effect, where the Monroe effect is that dumping, that jet piercing into its target. We see that on the UVU review video. The shirt is contoured right here at the collar after it settles down, and that's because the jet is unloading into his neck. And it's not like, my gosh, this is so foreign to people, because people, when they think explosive, they think
radially
explosive.
Yeah.
This is absolutely precision. Like it is not, you cannot hold that constant, that idea of an explosion and apply it to this, because a shaped charge is something completely different. And so from there, we've got pieces of debris you can see flying out away from Charlie. This is on those 2 videos that are to Charlie's right. And then the rest is history. Okay, we know what happens. The difference between, so ultimately, when it comes down to John and I mean, it happened under the shirt. Okay, I mean, until we are able to get that front video from Turning Point USA, the one that Terrell Farnsworth stole the SD card, that, I mean, I don't know how the guy's still walking free. I mean, he committed a felony right before our faces, trying to conceal the crime. But until that video is released and shown, I don't believe that, or we just get a flat out admission from one of them because they've gotten jammed up and they're ready to start singing. We're not going to know, okay? Because we're talking about something these compounds, this process, so highly sensitive that you're never going to be able to really recreate it, right? I mean, we could have possibly gone to accurate energy systems or the plant in Tennessee solutions, but that plant's gone. So
Blake, real quick, do you think that the technology that was, as far as the plant explosion, the AES plant explosion, do you think that the necklace technology would have been made or studied there?
There's a very strong possibility. I believe that they more than likely actually put everything together there at that plant. Absolutely.
So whatever it was, you think that's where they put it together.
It would have had to have been. This is not something that you would just take. And I understand, like, there's jewelry makers all over America. They're in every city. It's not rocket science to make jewelry, but this here, where it would be precision jewelry making, but also with a little bit of pizzazz added into it. This would have had to have absolutely taken place at a highly specialized facility, something just like AES. Absolutely. But the reason that I believe, and this was one of my very first inklings, just that something, aside from what we see on the video, guys, they made the necklace a focal point from the onset. I mean, the necklace was out there so boldly, and it was like they were so desperate to convince us of its existence still, that it's still in existence, that the necklace didn't have anything to do with it. Look, I'm hanging it out the Escalade. It's not the necklace, y'all, because look, they know what they did, and they know that things went sideways. I believe this was always supposed to have been a chest shot, okay? The clasp is what probably derailed that. I believe this was chest shot, just like, John, I've heard you talk about it. If it would have been a chest shot, I don't think we would probably be here, or at least with you sitting here, because you probably would have been like, I mean, it is what it is. Like, I mean, possibly not, but I believe it was definitely supposed to have been here and not this wild, low probability neck off the, I mean, it's not even center. I mean, it's over here on the side of his neck. I mean, that is definitely not what you're aiming for. And we're talking inches, a tiny margin. So you've got Erica Kirk, the necklace is here. Erica Kirk again, as she addresses the nation, the necklace is in his hand. We've got Frank Turek, who finds the necklace after the FBI clears the GMC Denali or Yukon Denali XL. I mean, we've got the FBI on scene investigating, clearing the vehicle. They've got it roped off because it's a crime scene. Frank Turek even admits this. It's a crime scene. And then Frank gets permission to go into the SUV after the FBI releases it back. And Frank Turek finds Charlie's necklace and then turns it right into the authorities because he heard that they're looking for it. He said this is
Blake,
verbatim.
Blake, I think it's actually even worse than that. I think what he said is he was like, who was it? Who was it was an assistant, or it was like Mikey McCoy, or maybe it was an assistant. He was like, me, out of the goodness of my heart, I found the necklace draped over the bag and I handed it and said, hey, Erica's looking for this. Please give it to her. And it's just, it seems a little too like emotional gaslighting for me, right? So yeah, I've been saying all along that I think that well, not all along, but the necklace behavior is very weird. Just the way that it behaved. John, as far as your explanation for necklace behavior, do you believe, because I tend to agree with Blake in that the clasp definitely worked its way down closer to Charlie's chest. What is your pushback on that? Like, do you think that microphone with the explosion snapped that necklace there at the bottom, maybe close to the clasp, and then that's what caused it to whip over his head? So you think the mic was likely the cause of that necklace behavior?
The we have several stills of the a high resolution photo still, and we have several videos of the end of the necklace, and it's a clean break. There's no clasp on it. It's a abrupt break. And
Well, the clasp blew off.
I'm just saying I don't see any evidence of a clasp left on it. There's no remnants of the clasp. It's a clean break. It's
so you don't think it matters whether there was a clasp or not? It just snapped.
I can only go from what I've seen, and what I've seen is that it looks like it broke mid link. I don't see any evidence of a clasp. Generally, a clasp is consistent of like a it's not like the link of the chain is connected to a ring. There's like another metal piece on both ends of the chain, which are like soldered to the end of the chain links, and then there's a ring in between. And what I'm saying is that all I see is the chain link, and then it just stops. It's just a clean end of the chain link. There's no remnants of any other pieces of metal. It's just a chain link and an abrupt stop and break.
Are you referencing Charles, his picture?
And then the video 1 MP4, you can see it underneath his armpit. 2 dot move Cubs video, you can see it swing underneath around his back. And then on the 7, you can see it swing once it swings back, kind of like a pendulum around his back. Once it comes to a rest and stops moving, you can see the end of it also. But the highest resolution picture is the still photo from the camera as they're carrying them away. You can clearly see it's just a abrupt break. There's no extra linkage or additional soldered pieces on it. It's just the links just stop.
Right. To play devil's advocate though, right? Like, so we've Blake and I in our last live, we broke down the different videos, whether that be Charles McClintock Wilson's photos, the high res photos. You can see the back of his necklace and the back of Charlie. There is no clasp there. It does work its way down. And it's possible that if the clasp did work its way down, and that when it exploded and it separated, that it could have separated on this side of the clasp. And so the part that flies, you wouldn't see the clasp. That the clasp could be under the shirt still on the other side next to the cross.
It's assuming that it has a clasp. It's big enough to slide over your head. So I haven't seen any pictures of the necklace with a clasp. So
it has a clasp.
Okay, I've never seen a picture of it.
I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I found it in either the Texas A&M event, or it's one of his recent ones when he's wearing a black shirt and he leans forward and the clasp is right here, and it's a heavy duty clasp.
Does it have like a ring and two soldered pieces of metal on each end of the? Or
I'll send it to you. What I see is that it's like this. It's a very unique clasp. It's a very unique necklace, right? And so
it's the David Yurman. I mean, you can go. Anybody can search right now at home. Go to David Yurman. And it's the box chain. That is the exact identical chain. It's the box chain that he's wearing there.
Okay, so I'll send you those two after tonight. Like I'll send you the photo that I have, and then I'll pull that up as well, just to cross reference it. But I'm
seeing the other side of the chain would tell you a lot, because like you said, the clasp has to be it's not gonna be vaporized, right? It's gonna be one side of the chain or the other,
right?
It's not going to magically just disappear. So, and it's not going to dislodge from the chain. It's soldered on the end of the chain.
Right.
So if we don't see it on one end of the chain, it doesn't mean that it's not on the other end of the chain. We just never see the other end of the chain. But we know for sure that it's not on the end of the chain that's hanging out of Charlie's shirt.
Yeah. Have you seen the necklace that Erica holds up after the fact that has the 3 different pendants on it?
Yeah, and he doesn't have those pendants on. I don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand why the additions, like, it's impossible for him to have those additional pendants on them. They have additional rings. Yeah. It was just like the depth is not possible with the depth that we see under the outline underneath his shirt. It was just a jersey knit shirt. It's not a thick shirt. There's not a lot of fabric to hide a lot of textural detail. And you see most importantly, with those extra like shields and extra rings, it wouldn't allow the cross to sit flush on his chest.
Correct.
So we see it sit flush on his chest through the whole event. Like you never see it adjust or turn on its side. There's never any bulk there throughout the whole day. Yeah.
Correct. We all agree that the necklace that she's holding up after the event is not the necklace at all that was on him that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to note for sure that, I mean, I wear a cross necklace and I know what that St. Michael pendant looks like. I also know what the miraculous metal looks like. And John, you're 100% right. When you add those pendants to the cross necklace, they actually sit like at an angle. So you would very easily be able to tell whether or not those pendants were on the necklace or not. So yeah, they added those for sure. They added those before and after. I mean, we've seen video, Matt, I know you've seen this before, of Erica in the car just kind of playing with the pendants, talking about what's on them. When you see Charlie and what he's wearing that day, he's not wearing all three of them. He doesn't have all three of the pendants on there. And then afterwards, when she's holding them up, and I know Blake, you've shared a couple pictures. I think you showed the video from her at her first announcement or her first public appearance in Charlie's office, when she puts her hand over it, kind of zooms in on the necklace. When she's holding it up from the car, it's got all three of the pendants on there. So it's just, it's just a weird irregularity.
Here, watch. Watch. Let me add this real quick.
They're throwing this necklace in our faces. That's what they're doing.
which is just weird, right? This is the necklace she held up in the car. All I did was put it in chat and ask it to clean out the background. So this is the one that she's holding up when that's Erica's hand. That's her. This is supposedly, and so you can see the extra rings that are on there, right? And what we see when it sits on his chest that day, it's just the cross, right? Like that, the one on the left and the one on the right they'd all be next to each other. It would create a totally different bulge on the shirt, which is just
it'd be a big bubble.
Yeah. You wouldn't see the cross as defined as it is.
No, it's laying flat.
Yeah. And then John, can I ask you a question?
Yep.
Can you explain how, because if it is the mic, right, then the cross and the necklace is like a secondary thing, right? It's being acted upon by the explosion from the mic. And are you saying it pushed it down until it got so intense that then it snapped and then it flew back?
No. If you look at where the mic's mounted, it's kind of like mid collarbone, right?
Yep.
And its face, like facing towards the microphone pickup is faced towards his body. So if you look at they had the microphone on its side. So the body of the microphone was facing down. And basically the necklace is draping in the path of the explosion. So, as the microphone detonates, the case suffers failure, because we can see from the bulge, it's 44 millimeters by 44 millimeters by 18 millimeters, right?
Second. Wait, hold on real quick. I don't know what just happened. I just want to make sure everyone can still hear you. All I'm going to do is hit refresh on my screen. It shouldn't interrupt you guys. I got a notification on my end of the browser. I'm just going to refresh mine real quick. Okay.
Okay.
We lost him.
They took him out. They did it. Oh. Whoa.
There we go. All right.
This is like the Brady Bunch.
Sorry. All I was going to do, sorry, John, while you were talking.
Can y'all hear me? I'm doing the Phillip.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I can hear you.
This is all I was going to do, John. I pulled this up for you.
Yeah. So this is the mic right here, same exact mic. So it was kind of mounted in this sort of fashion on its side. And you can see it's a huge bulk, even on my black shirt. It's a huge bulge. It's very easy to see. The necklace would have been kind of draped in front of it. So as that mic detonates, the case basically fails. And the only thing that's left on the shirt is the magnet clasp and the clip. So you see the clip. This is what the magnet attaches to. But the body of the case is gone. So, we know from the multiple angles that bulge or body of the microphone is gone. So if you look at what would happen to the case, if that's the case, right? We have the innards of the microphone would have to be ejected, which we have evidence that that's the case. We see The bulge that's in his collar on the opposite side of his body, that would be the trajectory across his body, is the same size as this that raises his collar up. That's the same square bulge that we see with sharp edges. And then the color that we see kind of peek out of his collar for a second, kind of in that fashion, is the same blue masking that we have on the same model of the circuit board. So we know that there was enough energy to fracture the case and send the innards across his shirt. So that it takes 7 joules of force to break the necklace. And the necklace was direct in line, draped across here, of that action. So the necklace is a secondary action. The same force that sent the shrapnel across his chest, that shattered the front black glass face of the microphone, sent the circuit board and the battery across his chest. The battery that ended up striking his neck, which is if you look at the size, that's about the size of the wound. And then the trajectory, we can map the speed of it by the frames, where we see it at this area, we see it up here, over here. You take the weight of this, you take the speed it was traveling, and you can pretty much calculate that it would penetrate about 2 to 3 centimeters into the neck if it struck here. And that's just deep enough to sever the jugular. And we see bleeding from only the jugular that's delayed, like it's a blunt object impact. So now we have 3 different tangible actions from the microphone case breaking, and we know the necklace is draped right across there. So to me, it's just further evidence of the energetic epicenter being in that area, and the necklace, snapping. If you see the first frames of it, it lifts right in front of the chin. So if you go from the chin down and you rest the necklace, it's right in this area, right under the collarbone, which again would have been in the area of the expansion of the case, kind of the dispersal of energy across his chest. And then we can see the remnants of the case kind of falling down his shirt as it crosses his body, and that circuit board lifts his collar and falls. You can see it fall and cross his chest and end up in the fold of his shirt, down at the bottom of his shirt as he's falling over. So we have tangible objects that don't disappear. They have a trajectory, they have a path, and then they have a reaction from reaching the end of their trajectory and kind of gravity pulling it down. So the necklace is just one of the first actions of that. The same time we see the collar moved up from the circuit board, we see the necklace on its trajectory up and around. And that's the important thing about it, is the trajectory of the necklace. If the energy that causes the necklace to move is center mass, we would see equal movement on both sides of the necklace. And that's not what we see. We see a very high energy movement from the collarbone region up and over his face, within a frame or two, and it goes around his body, which doesn't make sense. Why would his left shoulder be the fulcrum if the energy came from the center? And then how do we explain what lifted his shirt collar up if the energy source was, there's nothing left to raise his shirt collar up? If the cross was the object that is the center of the epicenter, the cross would be destroyed, right? There wouldn't be enough mass of the cross to lift his shirt up and cause the neck wound. So we have to have 2 different objects that can explain the shirt movement up around his face and the impact to his neck, because they had to happen separately, because the shirt was lifted up over his face while the first impact happened on his neck. So whatever impacted his neck had to be from underneath his shirt. It couldn't have crossed through the shirt and caused it. And if you look at the frames afterwards, I found an additional frame where you can see the battery fall into the ground after it falls out of his neck wound. And that explains why we see such a delay in bleeding, 0.44 seconds from seeing the shape of the wound to first seeing the blood erupt from the wound. And immediately after we see that rectangle object fall from the wound, we see the blood erupt like it's been unplugged. And you can follow that object down the front of his body, through his armpit, down past his waist to the ground. And I've been able to capture it in 3 cameras now. So again, it's tying all the energies to the the object's movement, when you bring them all together to their original point, they're all within this area, right? The necklace, the circuit board, the battery, and the microphone case. They all start here and they go in separate directions, or they get spread out, and we can track them as they take their movement. It's not like they just disappear, right? They're going to be seen as they lose energy and they slow down and they fall to the ground. We can see them, we can track them. You know, it's not something that is just magically can't be seen. From the very first movement to when they come to a rest, we can find them in different frames. We can't see them their whole path, but we can at least find different cameras that have captured them in a frame throughout their path of their movement.
Yeah, let me ask you that. Let me ask you guys this, because John, one of the more compelling things that I watched you say and was the emergence of that circuit board out of his shirt. Right. Which you identify from the different colors. So between that, so when you see the circuit board emerge from his shirt, plus you also have the necklace, which comes up from the opposite side and then whips around his head, that to me, I mean, just from a common sense standpoint, seems to pretty clearly rule out any gunshot wound to the neck from the opposite side. Like, tell me how that would be possible.
Yeah,
given
especially
what we know.
If you look at the stills, it's you could fool yourself by looking at still images, but when you watch the video, the order of operations are all off. Yeah. We see the shirt movement, we see the necklace movement, and we see the collar lift from this square object before we ever see any neck wound. And it should be the opposite order. We should see a neck wound, then we should see shirt movement, and then we should see objects moving from that.
Right.
And so, you know, it's very difficult to imagine how a bullet is going to magically pass a white shirt raised up over the wound and not leave any blood splatter or, you know, a smudge or even move the shirt. If you look at the side angles, the shirt like moves out like in this fashion. Like you can see it's a thin square profile that's like trying to move away from his body in this direction. The bullet's coming in linear, like it would have an opposite route. You would expect the shirt to move back. You know, it's just when you add all the details together, like none of the physics work for a linear bullet coming from 5 degrees above, striking him in the zone 2 of the neck. You know, just the blood splatter. No, that was the first thing I looked at was like, I studied, you know, the science of blood splatter. They can come after the fact when nobody even knows what happened. There's like, this guy's dead and there's blood all over the place. They can tell you where the shot came from, how fast the shot was going, all by how the blood splatters out. Like, we don't have any of that. Forensic science is like just thrown out the window. It's like they just ignore it because there's no signs of it anywhere. Like if we didn't hear the rifle shot and we didn't see Charlie recorded by all those cameras and we just came up to Charlie after the fact, nobody would have believed that he was shot with a rifle in the neck because there's no evidence of it anywhere. Like we don't have, there's no exit wound. There's no, you know, the entry wound doesn't look like an entry wound of a high velocity round. There's no blood splatter on his shirt. There's no blood splatter behind him. You know, there's just nothing there. If it wasn't for the sound of the rifle and them immediately just pumping in our heads, Charlie was shot. Charlie was shot. Here's a picture of the rifle. Here's a picture of the kid walking around with the rifle. Like they had to build that narrative in our head for us to believe it because there's nothing there otherwise for us to come to that conclusion. You know, it had to be fed to us for us to come up with that conclusion because nothing about the wound tells you that. And that's just us looking at Charlie after the fact. We have video of it happening. And when you look at the video of it happening, it becomes even less convincing just because of all the crazy shirt movement and the necklace and all that. Like, you know, it's just none of it adds up. When you look at all the things, you can look at a single detail here and there in a single still frame, and you can kind of weave the narrative together and make it believable. But when you really sit back and analyze it all, and you kind of take the narrative out of your head and say like, all right, what is the actual evidence that we have before us? It's very difficult to come to the conclusion that Charlie was shot in the neck with a 30-06.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just say a 0. I mean, I am that certain 0%.
Yeah. I mean, we'll really know if the defense is going to mount an actual defense for Tyler if they attack this issue forensically, like if they have their experts talking about, you know, the lack of a high velocity round hitting his neck. Like none of the things that you just mentioned are in the, any of the video that we see, and if they don't touch on that, like that's going to be very,
it's all circumstantial evidence. Hard evidence is video of him taking the shot, him admitting that he took the shot, someone witnessing him take the shot, them matching a bullet to the rifle that he took, them finding gunpowder residue on him, his person, or things that he touched immediately after. Like all these tangible, hard evidence that you would build a case with, all they have is circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence that was leaked to the public. Right. So it's like if they love to talk about tainting the jury pool. They tainted the jury pool off the bat. They created a narrative with leaked circumstantial evidence and slander to destroy his character, to make everyone just immediately just discredit his ability to receive a fair trial. Like I don't see how anyone can look at what's going on and think that Tyler's going to get a fair shot at a trial. It's just it was such a public event, and they did the whole 33-hour manhunt thing. It was just in those 33 hours they basically they ruined their case in the way they handled the information. Yeah. Why did they leak a picture of the rifle? That's not a rifle. It's not the rifle. Like why would they do that? Why would they tell us all these personal details about him? Like none of it was necessary. None of it helped the case. None of it helped capture him.
No.
So it's just the only reason that you can come up with is because they wanted to destroy his character. So when they did throw him to, a Banana Republic trial and, they throw him under the bus or something happens to him in jail before the trial, people will just write it off. Like, oh, well, he deserved it. That guy was a furry loving, transgender loving, not our type of person. He's the leftist killed Charlie and he got what he deserved. That's the kind of narrative that they were trying to set up for people. And it's worked.
Well, the vice president of the United States just said it last night.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he said last night. You have people who were eyewitnesses there from Turning Point USA talking about this. I mean, I think Barron has said that they violated the law. Like Blake Neff should not be talking about this. He was standing right next to Charlie when he was shot.
Frank Turk shouldn't be talking about it either.
Shouldn't be talking about it.
He's going back to UBU and talking about it. It's crazy. Can I ask you a question? I'm going to share your video, Blake. 1 second. The one on X, right? Yeah. Okay. The silver necklace. It's a soft metal, correct? Compared to other metals, correct? John?
Yeah. If it's silver, is it silver or stainless steel?
Oh, Blake, his necklace, was it silver or stainless steel?
Yeah, it's that stainless steel, stainless
316 or
yes.
304. Probably
Okay,
316.
So then it's harder.
Yeah, it's actually it's softer than steel, but it's corrosion resistant.
Could it really deflect a 30 caliber round?
Maybe like a 300 blackout or something subsonic, but I would find it highly unlikely that the amount of force the 30-06 has could be deflected off of.
That's what I was thinking. I just
Is
wanted to ask.
there any type of round that could be fired from a 30-06? Like just as like the weakest possible round ever, that the most frangible, the weakest varmint round, could it have hit the necklace and ricocheted up into his neck?
I just don't think so. It would be a freak occurrence, and I just don't think that it would have to have enough strength to change the trajectory. I just don't see it changing the trajectory of the bullet that much. It may shift the trajectory a little bit, make the bullet tumble, absolutely. But to change the trajectory from going a 5% downward angle to just, scoop straight up, like
straight up into his neck. Like, it would you'd still have a chest wound.
Yeah, we're
right?
reaching. That's like
right?
magic bullet territory at that point. So.
And I mean, the most recent theory that Val came out with is he's showing, I don't know if it's doctored or not, but that he's saying that the bullet went through Charlie's collar. That was just released today, Val on X, right? That he's saying it deflected off of the cross on the outside of the necklace. It raises up, and then he's saying it goes through the collar of Charlie's shirt and then into his neck.
And that's from the palm gun, right?
Yes, he's saying it's from from the palm gun.
Like,
Yeah.
all you got to do is just zoom out of that video, and the palm gun falls apart because the palm gun was supposedly fired after Charlie was already, mid fall. So it's just like the timing of it. That was an easy one to kind of debunk.
Yeah. Val never does them side by side. He's never showing Charlie's reaction with Rick Cutler's movement and timing it up with the sound of everything. He's only showing you Rick.
Yeah, there's so much of the event that you can look at one angle and convince yourself of one thing or another. Like you have to find multiple angles to really get a good idea. Like there was a kid in the crowd that like he was doing this or something, but you look at the other angle and he's just like tapping his brother, like, "Hey, brother," you know what I mean? It's like the people were trying to like say this kid was shooting Charlie with an invisible gun or something. And it was like weeks of that until there's another angle of it, and he's just tapping his brother. Yeah, it's you can when you're looking at video and you're especially looking at a crowd with so much going on, like you could spend a year just looking at the crowd and say, "Hey, but what about that guy? What about that guy?" Like,
well, and so much of them I think were meant to be a distraction. Like so many people's actions that day was meant to like tie up near to the event because they knew they were all being watched and that it was supposed to take people down these freaking black holes.
Yeah, there was a guy with an air rifle walking around. They arrested him. I remember the day of after they arrested old man Zim. They arrested another dude that was walking around with an air rifle, and then they had the one-arm assassin that he was dressed in like the black suit with it literally looked like a sling to a rifle hanging out of his bag. And he's dressed with a black glove, and he literally looked like an assassin from a movie walking around.
It looked weird.
Yeah, like why are these people showing up? And like any amount of noise they can add to the scene, it just makes it easier just to distract people and have us chasing rabbits for years after it, not looking at something tangible.
What do you think was going on with like Brian Harpole and Dan Flood and Terrell Farnsworth and Phillip? What is your theory on that? Like the whole sequence of events that precedes the explosion, when you see that there's an interference in the AV system, and have you seen those videos? And then you see Phillip look at Dan and he goes like this. Dan Flood gets on his mic and he calls over Brian. Well, first of all, this is what happens first. Brian activates something. Brian does something in his front right pocket. When he turns it on, that's when you start seeing this feedback issue in the speakers. And then you see Phillip and you see Terrell messing with their system over there, and they can't figure it out. Phillip gets up, takes out his earpiece, looks at Dan and goes like this. Dan gets on the mic and he goes and he calls Brian over because Brian, you see, doesn't want to be caught on camera doing this. And he kind of looks a little bit over his shoulder, and then he kind of doesn't do anything. And then Dan keeps talking to him. And then Brian starts to back up. He walks over there. Dan's whispering in his ear. He points with his hand over to Terrell and Phillip, explaining something, right? And then you see Brian is pissed that he's on camera having to do anything. He goes in his front right pocket and undoes whatever he just did. That's at least what it looks like to me. Have you seen any of that?
No, I've only looked at them texting each other back and forth. Like
they definitely are texting each other for sure. That's there.
That's why I thought it was weird. Like, why are they texting if they have like this earcom thing? Like, why are they in and it's not just one person. It's like a group of 3 people over there by Mikey that are all texting. They're all in their phones texting away. And then Dan Flood sends a text and he looks over at Mikey and they do this head thing. Like, you got the text? Yeah, I got the text. Like, that's what I noticed. I hadn't really looked at Harpole's actions a whole lot. He didn't seem to like he was, like you said, he seemed to be like wanted to be in that position that he was standing at pretty well. He didn't want to shake from that.
No, he didn't. And I mean, I do recommend watching some of the videos that Blake had shown. What it looks like to me is that something. Okay, so you see that he has a lot of stuff under his shirt. Okay, he's very conscious that he keeps pulling his shirt down, and you can actually see it at different times because his shirt is too small. Actually, he needs to get a bigger shirt. And you can see that there's stuff underneath the front side, and it kind of comes up here. You don't get a full definition as to what it actually is, but you can tell that there's equipment under there, and it's not the walkie. You see him mess with the walkie. It's on his back left hip, right? And then the actual mic where he talks, it's here because you see him and Dan. They talk to each other. They touch their ears. That's what they're using to communicate with one another. They turn it up and down on the back left hip. but he has something in his right front pocket. And when he goes in his pocket and you see him twist it, it's super weird. And once that happens, this whole feedback issue starts going on. And you see Terrell and Philip trying to figure it out, and they can't figure it out. And then Philip looks at Dan and goes, and then Dan calls over Brian. Brian comes over, and then he disengages after it. And then the feedback stops. But then a little bit of time passes, and then right as freaking Hunter Kozak comes up, right as Hunter Kozak comes up, he reactivates it. He goes back in the front right pocket and turns something on. I don't know what it is, man. And that's
also the same time that the roof runner goes up to the edge, all when Hunter Kozak is...
Oh, Eagle Boy.
Eagle Boy, yeah. Eagle Boy. That is, everything was on Hunter.
Yeah, it definitely like set off a sequence when Hunter came up, because Hunter even looks over at Brian right before he asks the final question. He looks over at Brian very quickly. He touches the left brim of his glasses, and then so he breaks eye contact. He's talking with Charlie. They're in the middle of a dialogue. The same conversation doesn't change at all. They're on the same topic, but out of nowhere, he stops looking at Charlie, looks over at Brian, goes like this, and then boom, that's the final question he asks, which is weird.
7 seconds.
And also what Brian was doing earlier, like throughout the day, he was standing normally like this, right? Like you see him, he stands like this, which is a normal way to stand with your hands when you cross your arms. It's normal. But once he reactivates the freaking weapon, or whatever it is, it could be a weapon. It seems like it is. Once Hunter Kozak comes up, he goes like this. He goes both hands clasped underneath as if he's holding on to something under his shirt. And you can see over from one of the cameras on the other side of Charlie, you can actually see his knuckles from underneath his arm. And you see him squeeze or twist or something. He's doing something. You could like see it on his knuckles. It's so weird. I've tried to sit like this. It's not a normal thing to do. You can sit like this when you're like sitting down, like when you're sitting on a couch or something like this. But like the typical way to stand with your arms crossed, which he was earlier. Earlier, he was like this, which is just a normal way because it holds itself up, right? But then he switches to this. And it's just super weird and it all kind of follows. And then that's when you see Dan Flood step forward. But well, first you see Frank pinch his cheek, move his hat, and then you see Dan step forward and hit his arm. And then, the big bang goes off. It seems to me those different actions are connected. They kind of cascade into the big bang. It's hard for me to not see that. Why would an AV guy, why would Philip at all need to look at Dan Flood and go like this? And then Dan Flood would call Brian over. Why is something that the security team is doing affecting the AV?
Yeah, it's weird. And they definitely, the question was definitely part of the narrative. Like they had the
Hunter's question.
Yeah. They even had, the supposed, text or letter from Tyler saying he was going to wait until someone asked a question about transgenders or something like that. And that's when he was going to take the shot. So it's
what?
like, that was in supposed like a text stream that they recreated that got destroyed. They said they got deleted, but they have screenshots of it that he was going to wait on the roof until someone asked Charlie something about transgendered, and that's when he was going to take the shot. But again, they don't show you screenshot. They just say it's from screenshots, and they had to recreate it because they don't have the actual text. But they said they recreated these text afterwards. And then the letter that they burned too, that saying that, that I had an opportunity to take Charlie out and I had to do it. It's just more narrative building. And
everything that they have is a screenshot. They have no actual
physical
hard evidence of any of this stuff. I mean, the letter, if you guys heard Cash Patel describe the letter, they know the letter exists because Lance told it that the letter exists. And the reason they know it exists is because of the aggressive questioning that the FBI is capable of. It's like, okay, so basically Lance told you that the letter existed. But what's also most funny, and I covered this on my show this week, is that we have the search warrant documents that just came out, which outline all the text messages, and then we have the charging document messages where he's talking in just a completely different tone. So that's the charging documents are kind of the famous, like, I'm stuck in a little while longer yet my love, blah blah blah. Very poetic, very weird, just very, out of tone. And then the search warrant documents are actually like a young kid talking and texting, like like using abbreviations and like those types of things. And it's normal. I was like, if they had released the search document text messages first, I don't think we wouldn't even be questioning what's going on. Like, all right, yeah, this seems normal. Like this is how normal teenagers talk, right? But like, here's the thing. The FBI says that these messages are from screenshots from their phone. So if these messages were authentic, why would they be different? The charging documents and the search warrant documents are from a day apart. They're from a day apart. So if they're looking at the same images of the same text messages, why in the heck would they be different? Why, like, these should match.
And why do they need to get them off the phone? Why are we pretending like every text we send on a computer, a third-party computer somewhere? It's not like they're a direct connection. You know what I mean? There's a carrier that takes this data and sends it to another person's phone. Like, we know that they have access to all this. Like, why are they pretending like they have to get it from the actual device? Like, they would be able to get it from the cell carrier.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it pings off the towers. They have it on their end. Yeah.
Unless it's iMessage. And then it goes to the Apple servers.
Does Apple give that up? Because wasn't there a case where, I don't know, there was some shooter, there was some crime that was committed and Apple wouldn't give up the information? Are they still firm on that? I don't know. I think Apple's pretty tight, but I don't know.
They're very tight, and that story, I know what you're talking about. It fizzled away. If you think about it, if you're Apple, you don't necessarily want it known that the system, and that's one of the things they pride themselves on, is the encryption and just overall security of their.
It's closed, it's not a closed source,
no, I want to say it was actually that Brian Kohlberger. For some reason, that's what's jumping into my brain with the FBI.
Was it a potential terrorist attack? Was it a school shooting? I mean, it was something along those lines.
I think so. Yeah, there was something there, but
they were trying to get into his phone, and Apple wouldn't let him in. Yeah, it was some pretty high-profile thing, if I remember correctly. It was very
high-profile, but that's the thing. Like, it took a lot of work for them to create that Word document that the district attorney read from. It could have been a lot easier if they just would have done snippets of the actual Celebrite data extraction report, where it's rock solid. I mean, when you do that extraction report, it comes in a super locked PDF with the hash, basically these different hashes that show that it's true. Hang on, about to cut out.
Going under a tunnel.
Okay, that's my last overpass. Yeah, that's my last. I've got Starlink on my truck.
Yeah, you're good.
So yeah, look, this is where everything runs sideways for them. The whole narrative was already set in motion. And when the rifle and the round didn't match the wound and what we all saw, look, you're talking about a house of cards that's propped up on something so just major. And it was this neck wound that should have never happened. That was never intended. And that's where things went sideways. They already had the plan in motion. And look, when you've got a lot of people involved, from assisting in the cover-up, what's that old saying? There's too many chiefs and not enough Indians. I mean, there's just way too much going on that the story's already churning. You just can't pivot. And I think that's where the pivot was, like Andrew Colvett talking about Superman. That's all they had.
Well, that was actually, that was Erica.
Was it Erica?
Yeah. No, okay. Andrew was on the three-way, And Erica, so
Okay.
it was Erica, the surgeon, and Andrew. She entered that in. She was trying to explain away that like it was a miracle and that, you know, it was like Charlie's last thing that he like saved people. But it was Andrew's statement. He's the one that released it, and he said it as if the surgeon said it. That's how it came out. But you know, Candace broke it later. No, Erica made that statement on a three-way conversation with Andrew and the surgeon. And I just want to point out a couple things, right? Like both of you believe that it was John and Blake, right? That it wasn't a 30-06. It was an explosion under the shirt. It was supposed to simulate a 30-06 wound. Blake says center mass because that's where the necklace hang. John says upper right of the chest shoulder area because that's where the mic was. But because of different variables on that day, whether it be the way that the mic was positioned, how it was clasped on, or that, you know, when Charlie moved around and his clasp went down to next to the cross, that those small, minute little differences changed the trajectory enough that instead of going through, it shot up. John believes that you believe the battery is what penetrated his skin, correct, and made the wound?
Yep.
Right. And Blake believes that it was some part of the necklace that actually went in, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's the jet off the shape charge.
Okay. And then that's where they had to pivot because then we don't see a typical 30-06, you know, high velocity blood splatter. We don't see an exit wound. We don't see a lot of the behavior that we would see with a high velocity round. And then that's when we start to see them, that the narrative fall apart, that they had the Patsy on the roof, supposedly, that, you know, had this 30-06 rifle that was supposed to just be perfect. And it wasn't.
Yeah. Because without the neck wound, we see his shirt jump up. We see him, you know, cavitate, and we see him fall over. Like, it's not a perfect, you know, representation of a shot, but it's convincing enough that we wouldn't have enough information to tell us different. We wouldn't see a wound that bled strange or had a strange shape that was in an area that's unlikely not to have an exit wound. Like, we could have believed that a 30-06 to the center mass of the chest didn't exit. Right? You can believe that. Like. And I wonder when it hits the neck, it's very hard to believe that. And so it's like the pivot was a difficult one, but they had no choice because they can't explain two wounds with one shot. You know, it wasn't like the Butler event where you had multiple shots. You know, if they had if somebody was shooting a semi-automatic and he ran a few rounds, it would have been a lot more believable. Like, they could tell us that he got shot in the chest and the neck, you know, and that could have been easier to believe than what we saw. But as it stands with the single shot, it hit the neck. It just, the math doesn't math with what we saw. The energy just doesn't match.
John, just to clarify, you think there was a gunshot from somewhere?
I know there was a gunshot. I don't think. I know there was a gunshot.
You know there was a gunshot.
Absolutely.
But not from the Losi Center roof.
It could be. It's within the right distance, but I can't say for sure where it came from. I can only say for sure that it was 120 to 127 meters away from where Charlie's position was.
So that's where John and I split.
Because Blake, you think that the gunshot sound came from the audio.
Yes. Yep. I believe that Brian Harpole is the one who detonated the charge.
Man,
the gunshot, the gunshot absolves Brian Harpole of anything bad. The gunshot absolves Rick Cutler of being a decoy. The gunshot absolves the guy in the minivan guy squeezing his hands like this. The reason that they all are playing off of this move is, I mean, there's nothing more blatantly obvious when it comes to Rick Cutler that he's tugging on his clothes and squeezing under his arm, because that's what Brian was doing. Brian actually does the same thing at the same moment. They actually snitched on themselves because they were being so extra with their team of decoys. There's no other explanation for it. The only deal is Brian Harpole is the one who got busted on camera because Philip Goldsberry looked up to Dan Flood, did this, and Brian Harpole goes into his pocket and pulls out the controller right there for the whole world to see and for it to be recorded. That's why we got Brian Harpole on tour with Sean Ryan and Gary Melton, because guess what? Brian Harpole had to get out in front of the story, because Brian Harpole went right in to see all of his wrongdoings, all of his stuff that was caught on camera, and he's like, "Oh, bogey, I'm on video with the detonator and all. Oh my word!" So that's why we got all of that.
You do see how, so like when you watch the video sometime, John, you'll see he's pissed that Dan called him over.
He is super pissed.
He actually
They
looks.
should have aborted.
Phillip. He looks
They
at
should have
Phillip,
aborted.
and he is pissed. You can see it. Here's my question: what if both are true? What if a rifle still was fired and the bullet went over the crowd and it goes into the back of the van, so that it's on the recording, so that they can say that there's, you know, the acoustically it proves that a bullet was fired, right? Just even just to basic people, you know, not being as, you know, well versed in it as you, but that also what we see with Brian Harpole doing in his pocket and activating, deactivating, and then what looks like he's squeezing something under his shirt. It's possible both could be true, correct? It doesn't mean that they're mutually exclusive, right? Or no?
I think the rifle would just make it a stronger case. I mean, if you're trying to fake a rifle shot, you want a rifle to be shot. Like,
No, I'm saying, yeah, like what if a rifle was still shot and that a bullet traveled over the crowd, but that what we see Brian Harpole doing, he still was doing, and that it's possible he still is activating something in his pocket and he's the one detonating it.
And a rifle provides not only a tie to a patsy, but it's a perfect acoustic cover for that detonation. Yeah.
I got you. So John, do you think that Tyler Robinson could have been the one that pulled that trigger?
I think it's very unlikely. And my heart of hearts, I feel like he was probably talked into bringing the rifle, possibly, or etching the bullets and bringing the rifle, and he thought someone else was going to pick it up from the woods and take the shot. Wait. Or maybe he was even baited to a certain spot, or, you know, they talked him to walk around the event. But I think he did come to the area, and I think it's likely that he could have brought his grandpa's rifle, but I don't think necessarily that it was the rifle that was shot. And I'm pretty certain that he didn't take the shot, just because it would be like a suicide mission. I mean, why are you going to walk around the event and be seen on so many cameras and then sneak up on the roof to take a shot? It just seems like foolhardy. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't need to scope out the area. He didn't need to walk around the campus that day. He could have done that a day previous. Like, right. It just seems like if you were going to take those actions, you would just end your life up there on the roof. Like, because you know you're going to get caught. There's no way you're going to walk around the event, hop on a roof, and take a shot and not be seen by, you know, at least a plurality of high definition cameras,
especially on a college campus. And if he attended a different college campus, like, he's aware that there's cameras everywhere. Zach, do you think that Eagle Boy, the guy in the black shirt and the eagle on his chest, do you think that looks like Tyler?
You can go back and look at my X feed from maybe November, December. I feel like I was one of the I mean, I think there's a lot of people that thought this, but no, the guy in the picture of the stairwell and Tyler Robinson look absolutely nothing alike. And I've even had to, like, stare at it and be like, all right, Zach, just, you can do it. Like, try to make this look like just try to have some empathy for what these people are saying that it's the same person. The jawline for me and, like, the mouth structure are just totally different. Like, Tyler Robinson's got a pretty thick jaw. Yep. He's got a very thick kind of side profile here towards the bottom of his face. And if you look at that guy, the Eagle Boy, as you call him, Matt, like, of that picture in the stairwell with that yellow background, he's got a very thin face. Yep. With those glasses on. It's not. I don't believe it's the same person. I've been saying that for a long time. You know, as far as it goes, like, we haven't seen any video from that stairwell. Those stills are all that we have, and we don't even know when those are from. Like, those could be just from different days. Like, we have no clue. I mean, that's what I was talking with Gary Melton about. Like, I was like, you have no way to prove that Tyler Robinson was on that roof. You have no way to prove it. There is no hard evidence that places Tyler Robinson on that roof. No. And that's a big deal for a camp that says that he is 100% definitely guilty.
Yeah.
prior
Why
to
do-
any trial.
Why don't we have his whole car swabbed for gunpowder residue? If he took a shot and he ran to his car and drove home, there's gunpowder residue throughout the car. He can't scrub down his car. He can go home, wash his clothes, he can wash his hands, but he can't get every nook and cranny of his car, the steering wheel, of the or his keys. Like all these things should have gunpowder residue on them. And you,
Bro, he was wanting to get a steak. He was like, he was ready to go get the steak from that steakhouse, bro.
Yeah.
And or wash his car. I mean,
Do you really think that his parents identified him from the Losi Center roof video that we can't see who that is, and then the still photos of Eagle Boy? Supposedly those were the things, and then the rifle in the charging documents and all the court documents. Supposedly those are the things that the parents identified as Tyler and Grandpappy's rifle.
And the rifle's not the rifle.
No, it's not.
It's not the rifle. So why is he even texting his lover that they show pictures of my rifle and it's very unique? Like none of it makes sense. Oh, they grabbed the old man. What is he sitting there in the bush watching the news, on his phone?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And
as soon
as he saw a picture of that rifle, he should be like, "Whew, that ain't Grandpappy's rifle. I'm free and clear." You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't make any sense. Like it was a narrative built for us. It wasn't a narrative built for anything else. Like,
correct.
well, y'all, I think this actually points to a much bigger issue. Look, I'm gonna not mix any words. I believe wholeheartedly that there was a collusive effort with Tyler's parents, Tyler being there, and that this was part of something that they were a lot of people involved in. There's people there at the university that are involved that should not be. There's people that are doing things that are involved that should not be doing these things.
Phil Lyman?
Like Phil Lyman, like Butch Hibbs, right? Like I call him Big Boy in the red plaid. He actually walks up to Butch Hibbs. This is about 8 minutes after the Big Bang, and these two old men start talking, but they're talking like spies. They don't look at each other. I want you to keep in mind, this is like 8 minutes after supposedly this open fire and Charlie Kirk just got hit. And Butch Hibbs is on his phone, and then he's got this big boy, this large, heavyset man walk up behind him, and they never look at each other. Butch Hibbs never, you're not going to let someone walk up behind you after a shooting where someone big time just got hit and not look and see who it is. No, they know each other, and they're sitting there just carrying on like they're looking ahead, but they are talking. This is all caught on the Life is Driving video. Okay. As Adam is interviewing someone, where these two guys, and they're literally communicating secretively, like they're 006 and 007. Then you've got the person in the pink hat and the blue shirt who's got a ponytail and he's got man boobs. Okay, he's there picking up stuff in the menorah within, this is even less time. This is between 5 and 7 minutes. What's he looking for? Right.
I agree. I see people picking stuff up after the fact. I mean, you saw that too, right, John and Zach? That I don't know, some of the security members, some of the plainclothes police officers, after the fact, you see them walking around in the grass there on the different levels, and they're looking for stuff in the grass.
Head down, kicking the grass. They're like kicking the grass, trying to like disturb the grass.
For?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Obviously something that didn't get, it's not evidence, because you don't have the security team that could be, part of a conspiracy, go and look for evidence of a crime. Just the whole way the scene was handled was very strange. It should have been taped off right away. Like police should have been coming. They all should have been separated. They all should have been questioned. Like none of the normal things that would happen during, a murder. Like if your security team fails and, they are all surrounded and they're the only one that touches the victim and take them to the hospital in a private vehicle, like that's all really suspect. Why is there no one else? Why did they not allow any other parties involved? They walked past two medical guys. Like the medical guys were literally like hands away from them. Like
The
right
EMTs?
before the EMTs, with full kits. Like they had they had a Ranger there with their part by the SUV. Like they were
tried to hand it off to the team and they refused it.
Yeah, and even when Charlie was still on the ground, they were walking towards them. Like they were on the way towards them before they even lifted Charlie up. Like just the fact that it's like it was all efforts to get him where he couldn't be seen. That's like Dan Flood dumping him on the ground, and then get him out of the area right as fast as possible. And they surrounded him, and it's not because they were worried about a follow-up shot. None of them were making sure there was nobody else on the roof. Nobody was worried about a follow-up shot. It was just to block the view so we couldn't see Charlie anymore.
And I think that was part of the plan. I think that this is what I was going to say earlier, right? If the high velocity jet, right, the shape charge, whether it be the mic or the cross going through, on all these videos, it wouldn't necessarily look great, right? It wouldn't look like most people would think a bullet entering through the shirt and everything would look. That Dan pushing him over and getting him on the ground and then getting around him, I think was probably part of the plan the whole time, so that they could get him off the X into the van before anyone could really look at his body. Like if it was supposed to be center mass, because then they could say that it was whatever they wanted to say, right? They could have explained it away. But if he sits there for a long time and we all see that it's not a center mass or upright shoulder wound and it doesn't look right, or he's down on the ground and we see it, we still would have had questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a rehearsed reaction.
Yeah,
they had places to be. They had people that they needed to touch. You know what I mean? Like the table jumper. He had no reason. He literally jumps the table, hops over the table, walks over Charlie, pulls something out of his back pocket, touches the guy, hands him something, and he just runs off. And you know, he didn't run and get in the SUV. He's just standing there when they go and bring Charlie back. Like, what was he in such a rush for? That he had to jump over the table, leap over the table, and then just run past them. Yeah, and it was just them.
What do you think about the
Charlie.
Y refi guy, John? What do you think about the Y refi guy rushing in like he's Batman? You know what I'm talking about?
None of their reactions made sense.
Like,
and then he has
can you come up with the reason that the CEO of Y Refi, a student loan refinance company, would rush in and go directly to Brian Harpole? Is there any does this guy moonlight as a superhero? I mean,
no,
that's the only explanation.
The security guard down first. Remember, he shoves Blake on the ground.
He does. He does. He shoves the ever living poo-poo out of the poor kid in black. I say poor kid. By all intents and purposes, they're all in on it. But literally, this security kid who's got the slicked back hair, he gets shoved out of the way. This is the CEO of a student loan company. What the hell are you doing, bro? Like, I mean, dude, you're supposed to be scared. You're not supposed to be rushing into Brian Harpole.
Brian, it looks like he hands something off, but nothing ends up getting handed off. Brian doesn't end up handing anything off to him. It just their hands kind of cross over like this. And then you see Brian's pointing at something. And then the guy steps back and pulls out his phone and gets on his phone and just stands there.
Yeah.
I want to check in with Zach real quick because it's 11 p.m. his time. I want to make sure I'm respectful of his time and that, like, if he's had a long day, that if he's good, he can stay. If he's not good, he can check out. I just want to make sure he's on the East Coast, you know.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate you, man. I'm hanging in there. I'm a little tired, but no, I'm good. I'm good to go for a little bit longer.
Can we show Zach the audio, like my audio, like analysis, just so we can kind of run through that?
I do. I definitely want to see that.
Okay.
And I'm good, guys. I plan to stay up late tonight. I mean, I'm already way past my bedtime, so it's all good. I want to ask this though, and this is, this may be a stupid question, but whatever. I mean, I'm talking to the smart guys here. If this explosive went off, at this explosive that we're talking about, would it have left any type of, I don't know, evidence that, for example, bomb dogs would be able to find around the crime scene?
It would be difficult.
It'd be difficult. Okay.
Yeah.
Because of this type of explosive?
But just because it's a very small amount and it's dispersed everywhere. Like before, when it's still in its like encapsulated form, it's very concentrated and it hasn't broken down. but it burns really clean. Like all these high explosives, the reason they're so powerful is because they're very efficient. They burn almost all their energy and they break down to other substances. So it would be difficult. Like for instance, like the underwear bomber, the shoe bomber, these people just had powder, PENT, and they were able to make it through the airport without bomb dogs flagging them. It's just not. It doesn't have a lot of. It's not a very volatile substance, so it doesn't give off a lot of aroma. It doesn't have a lot of vapor pressure. So vapor pressure is like the ability of a chemical to off gas, and so it doesn't give off a lot of VOCs for something to pick up the aroma of it. And after it's exploded, there's going to be even less traces of it, and it's going to be spread out. So it'd be really, really difficult for a bomb dog to, bomb dogs aren't used after explosives go off. Like at that point, you're sending analysis to a lab.
Got it. Okay.
A bomb dog is to find something that's concealed that you don't know is there, and it's going to pick up on the traces of it.
Yeah, beforehand,
before
right?
it explodes. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm asking that because obviously we know that the dogs were there, but I guess I'm also asking as to like why they would, the reason to cover up the crime scene so quickly.
Well, pull up the grass, because one piece of the fragment, one piece of his shirt, you'll be able to find remnants.
There you go. Okay.
That could be sent to a lab, and a lab using a HPLC, a GC, a mass spec, any of these would be able to find the remnants of it. These are really like highly refined chemicals that aren't found in nature. So you'll be able to find the byproducts of it. Not only that, you'll be able to trace it to the exact lot that made it, because they all have tiny amounts of contamination, and you'll be able to find, fingerprints that you would be able to go and find, basically have a pretty good idea who manufactured it, whether it would be like manufactured by a third party or manufactured by an actual defense contractor. If it's super clean and there's little or no contaminants in it, then that it was made by a professional, and that's how, like when they find in this, there's a Belgium airport bombing, they were able to track down the people that made it because there was solvent residue left in it. And they were able to track where they, in their lab where they were manufacturing, they found the solvent that they used to manufacture it. It was a type of acetone. So it's like the not only the chemicals in it, but the contaminants that are left in it can trace you to who made it, or give you an idea who made it, how sophisticated their processing was. And so it was key for them to get rid of all that, because any amount of one microgram of it left on the surface of something, and someone could test it and see if it was a high purity, then they would know that it's not made by some rando lone wolf in a lab somewhere. That had to be made by a defense contractor,
professional. Yeah. And also too, Zach, I'm not sure if you know this, but and correct me if I'm wrong, John, this type of explosive, if when it falls on people, it could cause seizures too, right?
Yeah. The AES, the people that their facility blew up, they actually had a OSHA violation where people got exposed to it, and they were having health effects from it. So
could you imagine if they left this, not only for the investigational part, like having to hide it, because when you said fingerprints, you don't mean like it's like a fingerprint, like
it's a chemical, it's right. A chemical fingerprint. Yeah,
they would know exactly. And a lot of these places, they keep like a batch of it on file, correct, for a certain amount of time afterwards.
When you do defense contracting and you manufacture something, they make you keep control lots. So when they may not use what they purchased for you for 2 to 3 years. And if they start to use it and something goes wrong with it, they're going to contact you, and they're going to want a sample of your control lot so they can test it to see what was going wrong, to see if it was something that in storage or something that happened in manufacturing caused the defect from it. So, this facility, if hypothetically, if they were the source of it, they would have had control lots of that very substance, and it could have been traced back to it. And the only way you would be able to prevent that from ever happening is to get rid of the control lots. And that's exactly what happened. Like there's no tracing any of that now, right? It's gone. Like, not only are the records of what they made gone, but the any witnesses that could have attest to any strange happenings are gone too. So it's just like, that's just a mystery now. There's nothing to be found there.
Except for that one guy, the manager that was transferred the day before the explosion.
Yeah.
You don't know who he is. He's the only one that wasn't there that day.
Yeah. And that guy still hasn't taken a job. Like he's just kind of like retired.
Poof.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, John, about the blood? And then I'm going to pull up the video, Blake. Just
Sure.
one second, okay? The blood, if it drained from the brain,
Right.
would it look different under a microscope than blood that, say, would have came out from his from the? You said it came from the jugular, right?
The
When it
jugular
came
is
from the carotid.
deoxygenated. By the time you do analysis on it, it's all going to be oxidized anyway. So
okay.
yeah, the video of it actually, first emerging from the body gives you a better idea of where it's at.
Okay.
But if anybody that knows, a forensic scientist that could look at the video and know just by Charlie's reactions that he had a certain amount of trauma. And I think that's where the narrative of the C1 came into play, the whole, magic bullet, because they had to explain his physical reaction somehow. And the impact to the lower part of the neck, of zone 2 of the neck, wouldn't cause that, but an impact to C1 would. So I think
what about C2 though? Because I thought they said it hit C2, that it didn't hit C1.
But if it hits C2, then it could still cause damage to C1, right?
C1,
it's close enough. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's the whole reason that they tried to shoehorn in that whole idea of the magic bullet hitting his vertebrae and going down. It's because someone with enough knowledge looked at it and said, you're going to need to explain this physical reaction he has.
Posturing.
Yeah, because eventually someone's going to look at it and call it out. So, they're kind of getting ahead of it in that way. The easy way to explain it away.
Yep. All right. You wanted to pull it up like this top video, right?
Yes.
All right. Let me get there. Let me make it big on the screen. Let me make sure the audio is on. It is. All right. Ready?
You'd run it through ambisonics decoding software to get a direction vector based on timing and volume difference.
Can I start it over? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yep, there you go. Sorry. Ready?
So just wanted to, a few weeks ago. Is that good? You want me to continue?
You asked if an iPhone 17 Pro could record a real rifle shot from 140 yards and if the phone's speakers could pick up the direction in the audio. I said the mics could definitely capture it and that the spatial audio recording can store directional data, but the built-in speakers can't convey direction. Then you asked about the mechanisms to measure that direction, and I explained it's about the raw multi-channel audio from the iPhone's mics. You clarified that audio, and I told you you'd run it through ambisonics decoding software to get a direction vector based on timing and volume differences between the channels. Next, you clarified you meant playing a pre-recorded rifle shot over a 4-speaker system to fool someone. I said yes, that could work because the mics would pick up the timing delays between the speakers, making it look like the sound came from whatever direction you programmed. You then summed it up. With pre-calculated distance and angle, a computer program could time everything out over 4 loudspeakers to fake a gunshot at a particular spot. I agreed, saying a simple program like Reaper or a Python script could do the math for delays and make it convincingly fake. You sync a small explosion under the shirt with the exact moment the fake gunshot sound hits from the speakers, using the same time delays you calculated for the distance and angle. The visual hit happens at the same instant the spatial audio says the shot came from over there. To an observer and to any recording device, it lines up perfectly. You see the impact, hear the directional crack from the right distance, everything matches. It's basically how movies are synced to gunshots, just done live with surround speakers instead of a film set.
So just wanted to, a few weeks ago. Is that good? You want me to continue? All right, great. All right. A few weeks ago, there was a transgender mass shooter. And ever since then, about 3 weeks later, the Trump DOJ said that we should start talking about revoking gun rights for transgender Americans. Now, I think you're in support of this decision. Yes, is that fair to say? All right, great. So, do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years?
Too many.
Okay. I just want to point out the lack of empirical evidence there. It's 5. Okay, now 5 is a lot, right? I'm going to give you some credit. Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Great.
That's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So There is a direct correlation between what Brian Harpole has in his pocket and the speakers. It's direct. It is provable. You can see it on video that that's what the AV team has problems with. It's Brian has armed in his pocket. This is what does them in. There's no explanation given everything that's happened. There's nothing that he should have hidden on his body that interferes with the audio. There's just not. I mean, the fact that you got he's here, he's comfortable, and then when it's time for the go time, now we're here, and this is what you see. He's getting it. So where's the trigger? Where is it? It's strapped to his body underneath his clothes. So that's why he's trying. That's why he's gripping, because he's getting around it, ready to go. And then 7 seconds, Hunter Kozak signals, and you can see his knuckles squeeze. You can see his shirt, he squeezes. That's the detonation. Then you've got Rick Cutler, who's a decoy. Crazy enough, coincidentally enough, Cutler is squeezing on his shirt. Crazy enough, you've got Minivan Man right here doing this. Okay? They're all
Blake,
squeezing
you want
something.
to fix your headphones? I think I don't.
Yeah.
At least on my end, I can hear. So your audio's crackled. I don't know if everyone else, at least in my chat, they're saying it's hard to hear you. It's staticky and it's crackling. So we'll just give him a second as he does that. I saw your guys' putting that in the comments. So,
John, what do you think?
The speakers are difficult for me because I've bandpass filtered out the speakers. So a speaker has like a frequency response. And so I've taken all the audio and I basically filtered out all the frequency that the speakers could create. And it doesn't change any of my data. The peaks, first arrival peaks are all the same. The peak decimals are all the same. So the speakers definitely could play audio over them, but they can't replicate the frequencies that we see at the levels that we see. They were levels high enough to cause distortion, unless they were, specialty speakers that I don't know of. That's hypothetically that's possible. But if they were the model speakers that we see, that we can see, like the frequency that they create won't be able to be loud enough to create the distortion that we see. And then they would be loudest at the cameras that were in front of the speakers. So the mapping of the angle, regardless if you time the speakers to have, kind of like movie theater sound, right? Where they can fake, something happens behind you and they make the surround speakers go off, and the DSP can cause the timing to make it seem like it's timed right. Yeah, it's traveling.
Yeah.
But when you have multiple cameras around the area that are all in different, you don't control where these people are going to be positioned at in between the speakers. So you wouldn't be able to have, you could have a camera angle that would have perfect audio. It would be a fixed position. But when you start to add random cameras at random positions, it gets increasingly more difficult, especially when you have a few of the camera angles that are like out of the sight of the speakers, like Cubs video 2.move, which is the iPhone 15 Pro. He's not even within eyesight of the camera of the speakers. The speakers are all away from him, and he captures like the most important audio of the cell phone audio. He captures all the key details of like majority of the forensics that I ran off of his camera. The other cameras just kind of correlate the details that I've captured off it, because I try not to work off the angles that aren't original. I don't have metadata for, because they're compressed, because they've been uploaded and re-downloaded, and I don't have all the data for them. I don't know what type of camera they came off of. I don't know what's been done to the file in between. But those two iPhone 15 Pro files are from the cameras. Like I got them from the source of the people. And then the UVU video is from the UVU camera. So, those are the three I really build all the data off of. And the really what's convincing to me is how tight it's within 5%. All the cameras are within 5% of each other.
What do you mean by that?
as far as their time of arrival, where from the mock cone to the muzzle blast, they're all within 5% of estimation of how far they think the rifle is. So it's like just really, really tight data for it to be random or generated. You could get a few angles that could be that tight. Like if you had a camera set up in a certain position, you could definitely get those speakers to give you those type of numbers. The frequencies wouldn't be right, but you could definitely do it. We know just by movie theaters, right? They can make pretty convincing sound with static speakers.
Yeah. Yep.
But the frequencies involved and the multiple cameras involved, they just make it real difficult. As far as technology that I know, again, it could be speakers that I'm not aware of or technology that I'm not aware of, and it could definitely, the sky's the limit when you come to government budget. But I think as far as like if we're just looking at it for what we know they are, it would be difficult to do.
So let me say this:
like you don't believe there was a gunshot at all, right?
No, and here's why. Because I look at the angle, the trajectory. I look at the people that are moving free along the rear of the minivan, and I see it as such an unnecessary risk to take because you've got the female photographer in the red hat. You've got Frank Turek, who's walking, like moving all around. You've got the officer there. You've got two photographers and Angel that are all moving. Right. Yeah. That are moving like at their own discretion. No one is worried one bit. And I look at it as such an unnecessary risk, just given the fact that if one of them gets shot at the same time the explosive gets detonated, the charge, that now you have a magic bullet that one shot just got two people that are about 20 feet away from each other. And oh boy, do we have some problems now, because now we have the thing happening underneath Charlie's shirt. And then we've got now someone that a round just took them out that's over here to the side. Like, what's going on here? So I see that as just totally unnecessary, given the fact that and look, the speakers are a big problem. All of those issues that they had, and unfortunately, Philip Goldsberry gave it away. It was one of the most blatant things that they screwed up on, which leads me to this other point, which is the fact that, y'all, this was, in my opinion, Turning Point USA in collaboration or had assistance with probably our own government. You're not going to have these amateurs running this thing like they were. And yes, Terrell Farnsworth, amateur. Philip Goldsberry, amateur. Mikey McCoy, amateur. Y'all, Mikey McCoy was one of the first people to move. If you go and watch Mikey McCoy's movement, he is there looking out over at Dan Flood. Okay, he's looking out at the moment it happens. He's got his phone here, and his movement is all consistent. He's doing this. So before Dan Flood has hands on Charlie to push him over, Mikey McCoy is already going up for the phone call and to do this. Mikey McCoy knew this was happening. He turns around. He's one of the fastest reactors, and it's not shock. It is, he knows what's happening. He knows. There's no explaining it away. I'm not kidding. You can go and slow it down. His movement is all consistent with this before Dan has got Charlie pushed over. That is one of the most blatant just indicators that they were all in on it. They knew what was about to happen. And Mikey McCoy, his just nonchalant walk away, he's on the phone with someone, it gives it away. So you have all of these amateurs that are not used to being in a pressure situation, and they got caught. You've got Brian Harpole, who should have aborted. The moment Dan Flood called Brian over, and told him to turn the weapon off. And Brian, he should have calculated in his mind, I'm going to be on camera. I can't pull this thing out and twist it and turn it off because it's going to be seen. He should have, at that moment, it's an abort. Whatever the thing is for the abort, if it's Frank Turek throwing his hat up or something, I don't know. But they should have done a master abort because they were busted. But they didn't. They went through with it. They went through with it, even though the audio's jacked up. They went through with it, even though all of this stuff was screaming, abort, abort, abort. They didn't, and it's going to be their detriment because for not making, well, I don't even, I can't even fathom getting into that mindset because that's pure evilness, right? That is pure diabolical evilness, what that is, to even think about doing that to a human being. And so with all that being said, that I just see this as a Turning Point USA operation with the assistance of, it's unfortunate, but it looks like our government. It looks like our military. There are guys there that are flat out military ops guys. They're over there. They're flanking on each side. They look very suspect. Who are they? I mean, they're not wanting a hat. They're there. They're working. Like, who are these people? It's very, very sad. It's a sad. That might be the understatement of the decade. A sad thing for our nation.
I think
it's out. The videos are out, and y'all, the ones that are just, you can see Brian. I can tell you how many knuckles. I mean, like it's there. He's smoked. The dude is smoked. And I was going to break some news tonight. Okay, like, look, if you go back and listen to Sean Ryan in the interview, okay, we all remember that. Zach, have you seen that interview?
Yes.
Like in its full.
Yeah.
Do you remember the part where Brian Harpole talks about his phone?
Yeah. Couldn't go back and get it.
It fell out, right? He had it on his front.
Mm-hmm.
Look, y'all, that is Brian Harpole trying to get out in front of the device that he had underneath. His phone never fell out. There's no phone in the grass there. Everything Brian said that day was to get ahead of something that was an issue that he knew was going to be an issue. And the fact that we can see a device in the front here, like he's got things hidden underneath his body. He is saying that is his phone, but it's not. It's actually the weapon. It's actually what's controlling the weapon, the connectivity of the weapon.
So
all of that story about him losing his phone is embellishment. It's made up. It's a made up lie to try and make sense of something that we all see underneath his clothing, because his phone never fell out. So why would he bring that up? Why would he even make that a point that he had trouble calling his family, that his phone fell out because it was right here? Go back and listen to it. He's making an excuse for a device that's hidden underneath his shirt. He's making an excuse for it.
And you have the video to watch Brian Harpole that whole time, knowing that his phone doesn't fall out.
I have Jason Behunin walking up. Jason Behunin is the big guy in the red hat that's on the front row that Brian Harpole keeps kind of making eye contact with too. He's right there next to the lady in the striped dress. Okay. Jason Behunin walks around the tent. You can see behind the tent. There's no phone there. There's where the chair fell over. I've got it right after they take Charlie away. There's no phone there. That's all made up. Mm-hmm. It's because he's trying to make an excuse for having a device right here that he knows that we can all see. So he's saying it's his phone, but it's not his phone. It's actually the device.
John, does what Brian Harpole's activity do conflict with what you're seeing at all?
I don't really focus on the people. To me, it doesn't matter who detonated or who's involved. I'm just trying to bring up reasonable doubt to the official narrative.
Gotcha.
To me, yeah. I just look at tangibles, so what I can measure what I can find from multiple angles. When it comes to parties involved and who triggered it, like that's kind of like after the fact. That's somebody that's after the case has been made that there's enough reasonable doubt to exonerate Tyler Robertson for shooting Charlie Kirk. That's my focus. I'll focus on data that can directly kind of break down the narrative that he's a lone wolf shooter with 30-06 from the lousy roof.
I think that's a great distinction, actually, because like I think both of you come from this at different angles, and Blake and John, and your hyperfixation on different aspects of this, I think, speak to your guys' overall intent, like what your desired outcome is, right? And I remember, John, part of your story is you referencing your son and you knowing how easy it was and possible for like someone like your son to be radicalized and put in a situation like Tyler Robinson, right? And that some of your main motivation is to just prove at least enough doubt that if, you know, it isn't Tyler, and I'm 100% believe it wasn't Tyler that is responsible for killing Charlie Kirk, but that, you know, your efforts seek to, you know,
yeah, at least exonerate for him for the murder. I don't think he's probably completely innocent, but you know,
right.
We can't allow somebody that's, you know, obviously there's more than enough reasonable doubt to not convict him, and for us to sit back and just idly watch him be convicted and possibly, you know, put to death. It's a travesty for any parent, you know, for anybody that's even been a vulnerable youth themselves. Like, it's very easy to get caught up into, you know, pleasing what you think is a crowd, a peer group that you want to be a part of, and you can be drawn to do things way outside of your character. And it's much easier when you think you're a part of a bigger group, but you think you're insulated by this group. But it's not until it's already over that you realize that you're the only one that's going to take the fall for it. So I empathize for him as a vulnerable teen. I empathize as a parent. And, you know, I just want to do everything I can to ensure that he gets a fair shot to not face, you know, undue punishment.
Yeah. And I think that like, that clearly he's involved to some degree, that they have enough on him to select him as a patsy, right?
Yeah.
That he played at some, and he's obviously around the campus. He's driving around. He's doing things near UVU. I don't see any distinct footage that places him on campus at all. I haven't seen anything, right? But clearly, I think he played some sort of peripheral role, whether that be dropping things off, picking things up, throwing things away, or I don't know, just
it could have been as simple as just meeting someone on campus and then driving to go get a steak. You know, that's all they would take. That would satisfy the amount of evidence that we've seen. Some guy that looks like him, that's in similar clothes, walking around, him driving his car around, pinging a few towers on his cell phone, and then going to get a steak. And that's pretty much the case we have built against.
You have to remember, he might not have known that there was someone else that looked like him in the stairwell. Right. Like all of this might have been news to. I mean, you have to kind of think about it from that perspective.
Yeah,
that he just was wrapped into something. Hey, be here at this, and then they being whoever's pulling these strings of the puppets, whoever set this plan in motion, they had someone that looked like Tyler that was there doing everything. And
well,
he had no
that's
clue.
100% right. And I like that explanation that you just gave there. And I think what's important for us to understand with regard to who's really pulling the strings here is I talked with a guy named Kyle Seraphin, and I wanted to talk to him because he's been really good on the pipe bomber case. And he was with the FBI. He has been very outspoken about the guy that they have in custody being a patsy, this Brian Cole Jr. And he was explaining to me kind of how the whole operation works, and they silo people off. So like basically Shawnee Kirkoff, the Capitol police officer with the limp who was there on January 6th, he was like, yeah, she very well could have been walking around and told like, hey, this is a drill that you're going to do. You're going to drop these devices, or he doesn't even think they were bombs. He doesn't actually even think they were explosive devices. He was like, this is a training drill. You're going to go drop these off, and that's what you're going to do. And she had no clue as to the whole bigger picture that was actually going on. And there are other examples of a few other people that were involved there that day of just being siloed off and not having any clue as to what the bigger picture of everything going on was. And that could very well be the case for someone like Tyler Robinson. Like he's involved in some way, like he got himself into some trouble.
Yeah.
But John, I think you're 100% right on. It's like, it's not justice to give Tyler Robinson the death penalty when there are outstanding questions, or if he was involved and if there was a higher level operation going on here. That, I mean, true justice for Charlie Kirk, true justice for Tyler Robinson, or the true him being held accountable truly is not just him getting the death penalty and being killed for being the lone wolf shooter in this scenario. I mean, that's, like you said, that's a travesty, and we can't move forward. I mean, also we live in a world now where we have been lied to so much. We cannot continue to move forward at this point as a nation, as a people, just constantly being lied to. Like, we are reaching a breaking point here. I shared a quote on my X feed from Alexander Solzhenitsyn. It goes along with something like, they were lying, we knew they were lying, we knew we were lying, but then the lying continued, and then it just ended up in destruction for an entire nation, an entire civilization. Like, the consequences of this are massive.
Yeah,
and unless we revert back to the truth, we're never going to recover.
This is like salvation stuff, bro. This is like this is like the soul and salvation of our nation. I genuinely feel it, man. I feel it to my core.
Because they've been able to get us to move on in the past, right? Because of so many of these things that, like, whether that be Vegas or 9/11 or,
OKC. OKC.
So yeah, Oklahoma City. Yeah. So many things that we've moved on that, and now, Jeffrey, I'm not going to say his whole name, but Jeffrey and the files, right? I agree with Zach. This is something we cannot move on from. We just can't accept this. If we do, I think it would be like the death of the soul of the nation. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I will say this. I mean, I really enjoyed and learned a lot from the two of you. I see a lot of common threads, I would say. But just with regard to just the overall picture, I mean, I think what both of you guys, and I think the work that you both have done in your own right has been phenomenal. John, I mean, your level of analysis and detail is, I mean, what I feel like second to none. I mean, as you're talking, I'm literally trying to like look up some of the definitions of the words that you're using here. But like, I mean, it's been great, and I'm very happy that I've been introduced to your work. I mean, it's opened up my mind. And then Blake, your video and your analysis and everything that you've brought to the table. I mean, as far as your work goes, and I know that you've gotten a lot of heat for it. I just think, objectively speaking, if the work that you guys have brought to the table, and just the brave and courageous truth seeking that you both have done, I mean, I admire you guys for it. So, all the drama and all like kind of the bigger picture stuff aside, I mean, I think if you just drill down and just look at the work objectively, I mean, I think it's good stuff, and I think it is truth seeking, and I think it is valuable. So I just wanted to say that to you guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Zach.
100% agreed. Closing, Blake or John, do you have anything you want to close with before we all sign out?
Just anybody that's interested in any more data, you want to look at it, you want to run the analysis yourself, follow the epicenter.com is my website. All my work, all my source files, my Python code, anything that I do, that I produce, I may not be on there immediately, but I'll eventually get it on there. Like, I work off of criticism. I don't mind being, criticized. There's so much that I've been able to build off of other people's criticisms. So if you think there's something wrong, if you have an expertise in a field and you think that I'm missing something, go look at my data, call it out, pick it over. Like, I live for that. That's what makes everything better. iron sharpens iron. I don't mind being called I'm wrong. I don't mind being called retard. It doesn't matter. Just go and be objective and share some truths, and I can build off of it, and we'll make it better. I've gotten this far by people criticizing and correcting me. I was wrong by so much. I'll be wrong about more things, but I will always correct it when I find better data, and I'll always make it available. It's an open source. This is how we need to operate in the future. We can't allow ourselves to continue to be gatekept by experts, because experts are easily corruptible. They're easily bought off, and we just believe the talking head. We're going to end up with the same fruitless justice that we've had time and time again. We have to start taking our actions in our own hands, start learning things yourself. Information is more widely available than it's ever been. You can make yourself an expert on any subject you want. All you need to do is have the passion and the drive to go and dive in, learn the lexicon, build off the lexicon. Once you understand the words that they use, it's not magic anymore. You can understand what they're talking about. Nobody is as smart as they seem when you understand the words that they're using. It's none of these concepts are that complicated. And if you can't figure it out, there's so many tools out there that'll help you understand it. Like, don't leave your understanding of the world in other people's hands. Go and be the driver of your knowledge. Be the driver of the understanding of the world around you, and engage with each other. This is what's got us this far, and it's what's going to turn us around. We have to start depending on each other and stop depending on agencies and third parties that have no interest in our well-being. We have to start depending on each other and looking out for each other, because at the end of the day, that's all we have. Our society is built on trust of each other, and we've just misplaced our trust in these institutions, and we have to just leave it be. We realized through COVID that they're useless, that they don't do anything for us. Life went on without them, and we have to get ready for them not to be around anymore, because eventually the gig's going to come up. They're not going to have the money and the budget to run off of, and we're going to be left to our own devices. So we might as well get used to it, get to know your neighbor, get to know your local food producer, and start being more self-sufficient. And that goes through all things in life, through justice, information, education, nurturing your family and your neighbors. That's how we're going to rise up above this.
Well said,
Wow.
John.
Drop the mic on that one. I'm just gonna say this: like, it's not 1963. It was 2025. This case will be solved. I'll say it again. To Jeff Gray, if he's watching, to Kathy Nestor, if she's watching, to all the people in Utah, if they're watching, this case will be solved. It will. We know what we know. It's on video. We have it. The public has it. You're not going to be able to hide it. A plea is not going to make it go away. This case will be solved. A plea for Tyler is not going to do anything for you people, because the videos are still going to come out, and you're going to have to explain why you made a 22-year-old take a plea deal that the person on the roof was never even close to the edge to have even taken the shot. Okay, that video exists. This case will be solved. They're better off just cutting the losses and coming out with it now, because it's not going to get better for them. The state of Utah it's not going to get better. It's as worse as it's ever going to be today. Tomorrow, it's going to be a day worse. The next day, all of these hearings, all of these just dates set for something, a motion being argued or this or that, it's just going to get worse for you people, because the video, we all know what's on there. It's out, okay? There's videos, plural. Here's the thing. There's things that they don't even know are in existence. That's what's even crazier, is there might be videos that people were kind of scared of, that they haven't handed over yet, that they're like kind of apprehensive, or they were, that so they don't even know what they don't know.
Yeah.
It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. Each day that goes on is a day that it gets worse for them, not better. Okay? This case will be solved. Thanks for y'all's time.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Look, we're at 2 hours and 40 minutes. I want to get to all the supers, but I want to allow the gentlemen, if they need to sign off, that they can, and I can answer the supers. Unless
I'm gonna duck out. It's been a day for me, Matt.
I agree.
Thank you, Zach, John. Thank y'all. I enjoyed it. Hopefully we can do it again. And thank you for everyone that's still interested in this.
Yeah.
I'll see y'all around. All right. Good night.
Thanks, Blake.
Thanks, Blake.
Gentlemen,
I'm here for it, man. Let's go through them.
all right.
People,
What about you, John?
people put
I love
money to
I love
support.
supers, bro. Like I said, I feed off questions.
Okay,
and
cool.
throw some
Yeah.
names.
Cool.
Let's roll.
All right. I just want to make sure because you're in central United States, so it's later for you. Zach is on the East Coast. It's latest for him. It's earliest for me. So, all right. So we got Sonia. Here we got. Thank you in advance for a great conversation between you all. I respect each and every one of you for what you have done to bring truth to the light. Also, 10 and 2, Blake, 10 and 2.
His driving.
Blake was getting a hard time from the chat for driving while he was on the live stream.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, right? Like there was a lot of interference. There was times where I was trying to tell him, mute your mic. We can hear the sound of the car going on. He was changing headphones. But you know what? The fact he showed up on a day that a lot of people didn't think he was going to show up, and he did a great job, and he was very respectful, and I thought it was a great conversation that we had tonight. So
I'm glad it was here. I'm glad it was able to make it.
Yeah, me too. All right, we got Blake. Please find my comment in chat, Kristen. I'll have to look back at that, or I can get one of my mods to look back. Critter KC, send it to me, and then I can make sure Blake sees it. Okay. All right, we got Kelly Hoffman. Can you talk about Rick Color? I read this one. We talked about Rick Color. This was one of the ones I read in the beginning. I see something between the middle of the ring finger. It is black. I think that's just, I don't think there's actually anything in between his hands. She's saying that he squeezes it together and seems to set off the microphone.
I'll break it down. I have like the cleanest copy of that. I have the original of that move file, 1080p.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, 60 frames per second. You can see his hand from under the rail all the way up, like super clear.
Nothing in his hand.
Nothing in his hand. Yeah.
Like a shadow because of the way just the camera and the lighting.
Yeah, you can see his hand open when he brings it up, and you can see like his palm.
Yeah.
When he gets it up on his sleeve, I can see how people can believe like there's something in his hand. But when you see it below the frame, like the frames before, and you see it come up and the sun shines on his palm, it's pretty clear he doesn't have anything in his hand.
Are you able to release that on X, or have you done that already?
Yeah, I'll put it up there. I already have the video. I sent it to someone privately. A palm gunner, I guess you could call him. I'll send it. No, not Val. Somebody else. I'm sure Val's pretty set on that. So I try not to waste my energies on people that are super sure about something.
Yeah, that's
just
true.
for somebody that was literally asking me about it, and I showed them. So
I think that would go a long way. I think there are still a lot of people that are misled by Rick Cutler.
Yeah, I think they need to see the palm, and then they need to see the timing. That the timing's off.
True.
I think between those two things, it'll settle a lot of people's speculation about it.
I agree. Yeah. Here we go. Gas ain't cheap. Thanks for what you do. Thank you, Basic Niche. Next, we got. Thanks for your hard work you guys put into this. Thank you, Electronic Bookworm. All right. Hear me out. A cartoon illustration, what John is saying, so as ADHD folks can follow better. All in, but it would still help.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sonia, you're funny.
And I could probably post it on YouTube too. That would be a plus.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Could have been electrocuted could he have been electrocuted with the necklace prior to the shape charge?
Yeah, anything's possible. I don't see he would need to be grounded pretty well, and there's just not a very clear path of ground. He's sitting on like a memory foam pillow on a plastic chair on a composite table with aluminum legs. on grass. If he was standing on the grass himself, I could believe it a little better, but just there's not a clear path for the electricity to flow.
Well, and are you talking about the handheld mic?
The SM58 absolutely can electrocute you, but it's going to electrocute you through the ground. So it means that you become part of the ground. So you have to have a part of you that's grounded. When you see people electrocuted with SM58s, it's because they're wet or they're on a wet surface, like on a stage that's wet. Yeah. And it's because the equipment that their PA's hooked to isn't grounded. Huh. And I'm pretty sure that they have a pretty good electrical system there. It wasn't like very complicated. Like usually that happens in events where there's like an outdoor festival and they're pulling their own generators and things like that. When you're like next to utilities, you're going to have a good ground hooked to everything. There'd be no reason for them not to have a solid ground on the amplifiers for the PA. And that would be the only source of the voltage to be able to like power the electrical current that would be strong enough to electrocute them.
All right, here we go. From Just Common Sense. This is going to sound stupid, but I have to ask, is it possible that a shot could have came from behind, went through and struck the necklace, sending it up into the neck?
The biggest problem with the shot from behind is the trajectory. Like Charlie was so close to the back of the tent that it would be a really acute angle for any bullet to be able to hit him and not hit the tent. Because he's like dead center of the tent. His back is pretty close to it. If you look at like the above view and place him where he was, it would have to come from like the crowd angle or the concrete wall areas. It was just no good clear area to shoot. And the biggest problem is that there's no acoustics for it. Like we would hear it. We would hear the bullet. Even a subsonic bullet is going to make noise. Yeah, there's just nothing there. The only bullet we hear is the bullet that starts from the back and comes across the crowd.
There's also no evidence of like the cavitation for the bullet to have come from behind, right? There's nothing as far as like the
impact
movement or anything that we're seeing the impact that would suggest that it's coming from behind him.
Yeah, and then you have the frequency of the impact too. Like a bullet impact from the body has a frequency, especially if it hits the chest. Like it makes the chest is like a drum. You know, it has a certain frequency. It's measured. You can take a person's height and their lung volume and calculate what frequency it's going to make. And we don't have any sort of resonance from impact to the neck or the head. That's the two I've ran, because that's the two kind of like people say he was, shot in the head and through the back of the ear and it came out the neck. Yeah. And there's no frequency resonance for that. And then there's no impact to the chest. There's a penetration 53 hertz, which is like a thorax reverberation from the penetration of the lung cavity, but there's no impact of like from a bullet to the chest. So.
Yeah. And I mean, like we would have seen something on the rear camera that Candace shown as well, right?
Yeah, the rear camera.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, blood splatter. We would have had impact splatter, and then you would have had exit wound splatter. Like we don't have either of those.
Yeah. This one here we go. They're all yellow. Some of these because they're all the same amount, $10. So it was getting mixed up. Kelly Hoffman. No, I don't think he had a palm gun. He has something in between his fingers, like a detonator. Stu Peters shows it. He slows the video down, and you see the puff of smoke from the microphone.
Yeah, you can definitely see the puff of smoke from the out of the front collar on the 60 frame per second video. The same exact frame that you see the ghost collar stretching up on the back. You see a little puff of smoke in the front, but the timing of Cutler is like 3 frames behind that as he's pulling you.
Yeah.
What does Stu Peters think happened? Does he think the palm gun is how it?
No, Stu. I've been on Stu Peters' show a few times. Like
have you?
He's on the microphone. Yeah, he wants to come out.
You. He's with John Bray.
He wants to come out. Stu Peters is great. Like what a brave
I agree.
dude. Stu Peters is the best of the best. Like he will go out there. He makes me uncomfortable. He drops so much truth at once. It's like a weight that comes down on me. But yeah, he's like the bravest dude ever. He wants to come out to my farm once I can replicate the event. But it's been a difficult task to do that just because it's a highly regulated substance. So.
Yeah, the explosive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did Stu Peterson cover the palm pistol thing prior to your entrance onto the scene?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
But
That's
Stu, to give Stu credit, he was the first one to reach out to me. Stu was the first one to have me on. Like,
Oh, was he really?
Yeah, Stu's
I always thought you were on Trigger first.
No, Stu Stu has been the best to me. I owe Stu a world of favor. So
is that how Kelly found you then?
More than likely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always wondered that. I thought she just like plucked you out of obscurity somewhere.
Everybody needs to watch Stu Peters. Shout out to Stu Peters. I will be forever grateful for him. He is an OG. He's him and Candace. They're the goats for sure.
John, please tell me you saw Jordan Henshaw's reenactment. Please tell me you saw that.
No, I haven't seen it yet. I'll have to check it out though.
Well, I did a breakdown. You should watch it. I broke it down last night.
I'll watch it.
They said they solved it.
He solved it a few times.
Yeah,
I've heard that a few times.
Yeah, he can't even do it sitting down because when he does the tubing pinches, and so all the reenactments he's done, it's him standing up, and all he's been able to do is get the shirt to go like this.
Yeah, because it takes a lot of gas. So I tried to explain to him, like, I think it's admirable. Like, I really, when he first came out, like, I was trying to help the kid. But he just got so weird. I had to mute him. Sorry, Jordan, had to mute you. But I don't block, but I will mute.
Yeah. Sonia says, "Thank you, Zach."
You're welcome. Thank you.
Black Sheep says, "Thank you to all. How can lethal energy not rip the shirt?"
It's a good question. It's a question that's asked a lot. When you look into shape charges, it's not like a radial explosion. It's like a radial explosion is like a water balloon. A shape charge is like a water jet. You're basically taking that stream of energy that normally goes in all directions, and you're directing it in a tiny little stream. It's almost like plasma. And so there's little to no energy that's dispersed elsewhere. The only energy that you get dispersed elsewhere is from inefficiencies, from the distance not being correct, because the jet has to have a long enough distance to form properly. And so that's why we get secondary actions like the necklace break-in, the circuit board being thrown across the body, and the battery being thrown across the body, because the microphone was placed on his chest sideways. The shape charge was put as far back as it could, but it still had to break through the case before it could penetrate the target. So and that inefficiency, you get energy that's dispersed outwardly, but that only happens for a second. As soon as the microphone case is out of the way, then it's hitting its target and it's over, because it's a milliseconds that this event happens. That the explosives are so fast. It's different than like a firework. A firework's subsonic. It means it takes a long time and it's very expansive in its explosion. Where these type of high energy explosions, they're supersonic. So they happen so fast that you don't see a flash, you don't see bang, there's no soot. Like all the things you associate with traditional explosives, they're just not there. And I think that's the hardest thing for people to wrap their head around. And that's why it sounds like a rifle sound. It sounds like a rifle shot because it's a supersonic event, just like a rifle shot's a supersonic event. And I think they learned that through the Lebanon event, that it sounded a lot like a rifle. So a rifle was a perfect cover for it.
The Lebanon event?
Yeah, and the walkie-talkies.
The pagers. The exploding pagers.
Yeah,
no,
you listen
first, but then
the pagers. The next day, the walkie-talkies.
It was walkie-talkies. Yeah.
But you listen to the audio of it; it sounds so much like a rifle shot. Like when you just listen to it and you just close your eyes and don't tell yourself what you're listening to, you're like, "Wow, that's a rifle shot." It just has that same sharp crack.
I've only seen the video. I've never actually listened to it. I saw it. I forget who played it, but I'm gonna
look out for Charlie. It's spelled really weird, but look at his channel. He did a brilliant video in October about it. He opened up my eyes to the whole audio side of it. Like I only I tinkered in it, and someone sent me that look out for Charlie video from October, and it just blew my mind. I just deep dove after that.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna look at that. Let's see. Last one. Sonia says, last one. Blake, we see you. This was all shown to us by you. Thank you. I think she's referencing the different videos. So, John, MRK perspective. I think her dad works with shape charges, and pretty much she had like spoken with him, and we played the audio on here. And yeah, he pretty much, he said everything that you said, right? It was very fascinating. So MRK said, click to send a super sticker, and this popped up instead. Thanks to all 4 of you for going. Max also 1 month with the best BLB crew. Thank you, MRK. Let's see.
Andrew
Rogue. Yeah, you did. Let's see. All right. Mike detonates internal failure, shoots case circuit board across chest, takes out necklace, reaches rear of shirt, no exit, rebounds to front of shirt, no exit, rebounds straight into neck vein. Can we agree? Great work, all. John, I don't know.
It's an order operation. Like Mike detonates, necklace snaps, circuit board and battery travel across the chest. Battery impacts neck, circuit board gets caught in the collar pulls down, circuit board falls down and across, ends up in a fold of his shirt by his hip as he's falling over to the ground. Yep.
So this is correct. You agree with this order of operations, right?
No, the order of operations is wrong.
Oh, okay.
he has the events, but the order of operations is wrong.
Gotcha. All right. Sonia, gun for sound stability shape charge. Thank you, Sonia.
You guys see it's on X right now and it's trending. The ATF report. The ATF report was just released. All of the FedStop influencers are sharing it. Did you see that it came out?
Yeah, I have it.
You see it?
Yeah, Mystic sent. She got it and sent it to me this afternoon.
Oh, you saw it this afternoon?
No, I haven't. I didn't have a chance, man. I watched you, and then I was working, and then I got off and came home just in enough time to get on here. What are they saying about it online?
They're saying that so it's a summary report. It doesn't provide great detail. 1 bullet jacket fragment and 4 lead fragments were recovered during Charlie's autopsy. The jacket is identified as coming from a .30 caliber class bullet. The jacket fragment shared class characteristics with Tyler Robinson's Mauser 98 rifle. So the rifle couldn't be excluded as having fired the bullet, but the fragment lacks individual characteristics permitting identification of one rifle to the exclusion of all others in the class. The engravings on the cartridge are consistent with a rotary tool like a Dremel. According to the motion, the state now wants to conduct virtual comparison microscopy on the jacket casing, a new technology, blah, blah, blah. The defense filed on January 9th motion after they requested to be able to photograph the jacket casing in its current state and to attend or photograph any future testing, and requests were denied. Yeah, I haven't. That's not digging in. That's just a summary that somebody shared there. But ultimately, I think what has been found is that the ATF. What did Daisy say? No, Daisy just gave Blake Neff a hard time for sharing that it was definitely from Tyler Robinson's and ignoring Tony Graff's Utah County's request to stop talking about the case. Blake Neff said the ATF analysis of the bullet used to kill Charlie Kirk has been made public and confirms that the bullet was from a .30 caliber class, of which the .30-06 is a member. The analysis also found the Mauser 98 rifle found at the scene could have potentially fired the bullet. So,
well, yeah, a .30 caliber rifle can shoot a .30 caliber bullet.
Right.
It's just like that. We matched the casing. Well, yeah, the case was in the rifle still. It's pretty easy to match. I could match that casing too. Matter of fact,
it looks like that's what this is saying.
Yeah.
That it could have come from that rifle.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, I think they had to get out ahead of. Not out ahead of it, but after everything. I mean, one of the documents, it said that it was inconclusive. On another document, a different court filing, it said did not match the rifle.
Yeah.
And so there is, and that's why the Daily Wire or the Daily Mail, like, I don't know which document it was citing when it said when it wrote its piece, but the early court filing said inconclusive. But then I read a later filing and it said did not match the rifle.
I mean, what's interesting, John, that I didn't know about your argument was that you believe that there was a gunshot.
Yeah.
So this wouldn't necessarily. I mean, what this doesn't not like it debunks anything necessarily that you're saying. Even if there is a bullet in Charlie.
Well, no, he doesn't think it hit Charlie. He thinks that it hit a ballistic gel inside the back of the car.
Yeah, and be it
interesting.
Be the gel for recovering the bullet to later place in the autopsy, or just to really maximize the realistic audio forensic that they knew was going to be done. Butler probably taught them a lot, that people can do a lot of work with cell phone, audio nowadays. When you have multiple angles, like you can hammer in a lot of from that first arrival, from the muzzle blast. You can get distances pretty nailed in. So they had to know that the audio was going to get poured over, so they wanted it to be as tight as possible. And I always put my mind like in the mind of a conspirator. Like, I would want, even though you could like have the bullet ready to drop later, like if you could match the audio perfectly and have the trajectory so close to where it would pass by Charlie, right? It would be close enough where most people would never be able to argue with it, right? If they ran the audio analysis, like, yeah, here's a mock cone, here's the muzzle blast, same distance, they say, here's Charlie's, chest reacting to it. He got shot in the chest. The bullet's fragmented like it would for a chest shot. Like, everything lines up. But what in the world in his neck, zone 2 of his neck, could fragment a bullet where the jacket and the lid are separated out? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't compute. But if you look at bullets when they hit ballistic gel, 30-06 bullets, when they hit ballistic gel, they get wrecked. Like, they're torn all to pieces.
Okay, that was my next question. I thought it would have been like pristine, like it's going into ballistic gel. That like
no, and that just goes to show you how violent, how much power. Like, they would have to run like super dense gel to even stop the bullet. Like, usually, like even a full block of ballistic gel, 30-06 would just sail right through it, like come out the other end. Just fully mushroomed out, like so much so you wouldn't even be able to see any rifling left on it. So that's when they said they couldn't get a conclusive, that's what they're looking for, is a rifling. They want to match the rifling of the jacket to the and when they said it was inconclusive, I was like, yeah, I bet, because it's a 30-06 round. If it hits something, like the rifling's toast, like that bullet just gets wrecked. And there's probably just a regular, full metal jacket round. It wasn't going to be anything special, just because why would you use something special like that goes outside the narrative? It's a kid shooting his grandpa's gun, you know what I mean? It's just going to be run-of-the-mill ammo if they want it to be authentic. So, all that made sense to me. And, it's just the whole neck shot is just where it all falls apart for me. It's just nothing about that makes any sense. The sheer amount of like energy and force for it to be able to stop the bullet and fragment it in his neck is just, it makes no sense.
Yeah, it would have been really bad.
Yeah.
And that's what ultimately, because we didn't really know anything about the autopsy. And when that court filing came out, with the ATF report saying that there was one fragment that was basically unidentifiable, and they want us to believe that a 30-06 went into his neck. In my mind, I'm like, how could there be just essentially no fragments that they could identify? I mean, I guess there is the argument that, like, okay, if it's a varmint round or if it's a frangible round, then it could fragment so much to where it's difficult to trace back to the weapon. But to basically have just so little to analyze from what they're telling us happened just doesn't make common sense.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make common sense to anybody.
Yeah, Martin Luther King got shot in his jaw. And they found like fragments all through his body.
That's right.
Like, it was like 6 big fragments, 12 fragments in total. Like, they found so much of the bullet.
That's right.
And it hit his jaw. You know what I mean? Like, the strongest bone in your body. Like,
yes. That's the example. Like, has there ever been an example of a 30-06? And they always cite Martin Luther King, and it's just like, do you know where Martin Luther King got shot?
And he was just mangled. You know what I mean? From his jaw down to his neck, his shoulder area was just a big mess. And that's not at all what, it was not a gruesome. It was gruesome in the amount of blood that we saw, but the wound itself wasn't gruesome. That's why squibbers, I can understand their logic, because it looks like a fake wound. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, when you try to explain it as, a high energy, high velocity impact, it doesn't compute. It looks like something that was produced, like something that was fake, because we're analyzing it through the wrong scope. We're not looking at it as a medium velocity impact of shrapnel. When you look at it through that scope, it makes perfect sense. Yeah. When you look at it, when you're trying to explain it with the eyes of a 30-06 impact, nothing makes sense. And I can see how they could think it's fake.
Oh, and that too, because the initial reaction by everybody, even someone like Gary Melton was like, he had body armor on. Like, there's no, like, that wound does not make sense. That, like, that's not an entry. And then we went through the whole, was he shot from behind, but like through the head, and that was an exit wound. Right. Everybody was like, something, he had to have body armor on because it was a ricochet up. Like, the argument was just like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, so, and that was with people now that are just taking in, the charging document narrative. Right? Yeah.
Right. Any angle that they can take to defend the official narrative, like, they hold it up with shield and vigor. But as soon as the next, angle comes up, they just drop the old one, and a lot of that is like with the people that are trying to explain it in other means. Like, I look for consistency. Like, I like to build something that builds on the next piece, not something that abandons the previous piece. Like, to me, that's how truth works. Like, the more you add to it, the stronger it gets. It's like a puzzle. The closer you get to finality of the puzzle, the easier it is to put together, because you can see the picture clearer. It's like, you don't discard the last 4 pieces you put together because you have a new idea of how the puzzle goes together. Like, it should all work in conjunction with each other. Right. And everything I do, like, I try to always keep that scope in it. I go back to what I'm pretty sure is solid and make sure what I'm working on now fits with it pretty tight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, have you guys heard of it's like Mike Glover and Mike Ritlin?
No.
Have either of you heard of them? They're one, I think they're former SEALs. Mike Glover went on Ritlin's podcast, and you should look it up. They both are high up. One of them, even, I think it was Glover that referenced Joe Kent before Joe Kent was named. And then Ritlin ended up having like an SAS sniper come on. So even though Gary says what he says, so much of the special forces community is saying what we're saying. It's not a 30-06, right? And that what we're seeing there does not make sense. The body, what happens to Charlie, what we're seeing, the wound, everything. A lot of them, high level guys, are saying it's not, but then you have Gary saying it is. So I just wanted to point that out there, that they're not all saying what Gary's saying.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Let me get through some of these. We got. Okay, there's a girl filming near Charlie's SUV when he's carried out by security. Her camera is pointed away from Charlie. She's not even filming him while he's being carried out. So bizarre. I don't know. I don't know what camera that is.
The camera angle that I'm interested in is finding, or if anybody has it, which I just don't understand how we don't have it, is the camera angle from Charlie's right, from anybody, like where Frank Turek was standing, for example. I would love to see what's on Frank Turek's phone as far as that video that he has, because where he's filming, you can get a pretty decent view of the low-C center roof.
Yeah, you covered that today. Yeah,
I did. From that angle, it's not hard to see. It's not hard to see from that angle. Anybody in that back corner that has a camera facing out that way would be able to see it. It's just shocking to me that there's no camera angle that we've seen of anybody seeing that, like, that dark figure emerge from that rooftop spot.
Did you guys see? So you obviously saw it. The video when Blake's audio was playing, it shows the perspective. It's looking at the Hall of Flags on top and that stairwell. Do you guys see how many people that are on that side of the caution tape?
Yeah.
there's a lot of people at the level that they would be at, and they're standing unobstructed view. They would see the Losi Center.
You gotta see it.
It's
There's
a
no way.
silhouette against blue sky too. It's
It would-
such an easy.
It would have been
thing.
so obvious. There's so many people up there. That's a great call, and that's even easier. It's even easier to see it.
It's so bizarre that no one saw anything unless that person climbing that day or climbing up there, that video that is not time stamped, it's not dated, didn't happen at that time, happened later, happened before, who knows, you know? I don't know. It's so
him
bizarre.
running off the roof.
If you look at the gravel, all the disturbance on the gravel is far away from the edge of the roof. Like nothing goes to the edge.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And you know, to me, if I was on the roof line and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't seen, I would just stay away from the edge because it makes it where only the people that are of a similar grade of you can see you. Anyone below won't see you. You know?
No. Yeah. Here we go. This is for you, John. How does John think the microphone was detonated? And what does John think about Blake thinking it was Harpole that detonated the necklace?
Here's my problem with a human detonating it. A human's reaction time is like 300 milliseconds. And it detonated under like around 150 to 190 milliseconds after the mock cone passes by. So it's just for them to get the timing that tight, it has to be outside of a human's control. Like it would have to be. And again, like you have this device that has the capability to do it. It has a high precision microphone. It has an ARM processor with millisecond timing on it. And that's the very device that you're potentially hiding your explosives in. Like, why wouldn't you use it? And the working examples are really important to me. Like the pagers, they use the cellular signal on the pagers to detonate them. They use the radio signals on the radios, the walkie-talkies to detonate them. So it's like we have a working example of them using existing hardware on the device where they're hiding the explosives to work as a detonator. And so to me, that working example would be used as a case in point for them to expand it further to make it where, they're using the audio capabilities of the device to detonate it. So because the timing of the event is key. If we didn't have the neck wound, the next thing that could go wrong was the timing being off. And so if you're going to, risk it all in such an event, you're going to make sure that the timing can be perfect, and hardware is the only way to do that.
Would it have to be turned on from the moment they put it on them, or would there be some sort
that's the other beautiful thing about it. It's a wireless device. So, I mean, you can have the signal. It's a transmitter. It has a receiver. So all you would have to do is spoof the receiver, and you'd be able to send a signal to the custom firmware to arm the device at any moment. So, that could be the only arming that would need to be done is someone to say when, to turn it on. So when it would receive that mock cone frequency, that it would detonate the device. Does that make sense? You wouldn't want it just to be where any mock cone type frequency could set it off, right? Where it could just live all the time.
You'd want to have it turned off until right before.
Right before. That way, that there's no possibility of a false detonation from like a backfire of a car or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Let's see. We got a lot of new members. I'm not gonna. Okay, we got. Let's see. Mystic, I'm gonna throw you up. Hey y'all, just stopping by real quick to send my love to the Black Line crew peeps and to Zach and to John. Let's go down to some of these are just saying hi, great, love you guys, keep up the good work. Here we go. Zach told you before, I've become closer to my faith after finding you, started reading the Bible with my son, started the chapters of his name, Daniel and Isaiah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
That's great to hear. Yeah, that's a high compliment. Thank you for sharing that.
Here we go. 3 charm antenna. Yeah. Battery, explosive projectile, remote detonation, close or far for diff. Can you help me with this? There's a lot of abbreviations. Diff pose ranges. It is possible. Anyone debunk that yet? Aimed towards heart, but flew. Can you make sense of that?
I think she's talking about the charms on the necklace possibly being an antenna or a battery for the detonation, but he didn't have extra charms on his
Yeah,
necklace.
no.
He had the
Yeah.
cross. So they would have to fit the whole device in the cross.
Yeah. Sir, unless the wellness company has a super stimulant pre-workout style, it's time to go to bed. We'd like to see your ginger hair online.
Oh man.
Were you
You're
hoping
right.
that
My crew knows that the wellness company is a sponsor, so they're calling that out, and they're calling out my apparently red hair, which it does, look on my online persona, I guess it looks like I have redder hair. So that's like a joke with my audience now.
Yeah, because like when you showed the picture of you outside with natural lighting, it's clearly dirty blonde. It's clearly dirty blonde.
It is.
But like I was joking in your chat too. I was like, I'm not trying to be like me. I was like, it's kind of red. It looks like a little red.
So that's what people will say. It looks redder today. The lighting I thought would be better, but it still makes it look a little bit redder.
People today were like, you're still a ginger.
Dude.
I mean, like
rude.
I don't have that issue. I just shave my head every day, so it's a lot easier. All right, you guys, that was it. We're good.
Well, it was a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, John.
I really
Thank you
appreciate
so much,
it.
Zach.
Yeah, enjoyed this with you guys. Matt, thanks for organizing, and I'll look forward to keeping up with John, with you, and with Matt, and then also with Blake as we continue this on. So
100%. All right, God bless you guys. God bless everybody. Thank you guys so much. See you guys next time. Bye.